I hope the stream's gonna it's gonna work. We're doing the hotel stream. Oh god. What a mess of a trial that we're dealing with right now. I am pretty caught up with the Karen Reed trial. Pretty caught up with the Karen Reed trial. I don't even know where to start with this. Oh boy. I hope you guys are doing well though, and I hope the internet's gonna work fine. I loaded Discord earlier. By the way, if you guys haven't already, feel free to join the Discord. I loaded the Discord earlier and it took a bit to load, so I'm just gonna do a test stream to see if this works and cross my fingers. But if you guys can see this, type 1. I hope you can. I don't know if we're just spinning right now. What a mess. Ay, ay, ay. Also, I'm sharing the internet with other people, so hope it's, I don't know. The internet here usually is like, eh. Hi, Christine. How are you doing today? How is everyone? Can you guys hear me, by the way? Is the audio, like, is internet okay? I don't know if I'm spinning, if I'm buffering. I think we're doing okay. But I wanted to stream on Saturday. Oh, good. You can hear me. Okay, great. So I wanted to stream on Saturday, but I screwed up. Friday, I went to the nursery and bought a shit ton of plants. Saturday, I was like, oh, I'm going to stream on Saturday. We're going to catch up with the Karen Reed trial. And then I was like, wait a second. I forgot. I have to leave on Sunday. We have to drive out and go to Vegas. And I was like, fuck. So I had to plan all my stuff on Saturday, and that took about 10 hours. So I'm sorry, guys. But, you know, honestly, is there really much happening in the Karen Reed trial? I mean, it's interesting, but is the state really proving that she did it? They're not really doing a good job. You know how I feel about Mr. Lawley, the prosecutor, but the witnesses that are testifying, there are just no banger witnesses. There are some witnesses that are like, okay, you know, they seem pretty okay. Like, I think Lieutenant Tully was okay. Probably the best out of any law enforcement that has testified so far, I think. But now we have a crash reconstructionist who also works for the state. And, you know, not doing very good on the cross-examination. Not doing good. So I'm going to pick up where I left off. We're going to listen to him explaining how he thinks Karen Reed backed up into John O'Keefe and how the injuries and all that occurred. But you guys also got to remember that we don't have a medical examiner that has testified yet. I think the jury has seen some pictures of John O'Keefe. We got to see the arm pictures with the scratches together. There were 4 other pictures that were shown that they didn't show the live stream. But we haven't really heard from a medical examiner. Well, I said we haven't really heard. We have not heard from a medical examiner. So let's listen to the rest of this testimony. And I don't know, y'all let me know what you guys think. Ay, ay, ay.
How about calculating the final velocity of the objects after the collision? That'd be important.
What objects?
That would be John O'Keefe's body, sir.
You,
Object you claim was flying through the air 30 feet.
Okay,
sustained.
How about calculating the displacement using kinematic equations? Would you be able to do that?
the displacement of the body.
And I honestly thought that Lolly having a crashed reconstructionist, I was like, oh, you know what? This is going to explain so much. We're going to finally get to learn more about what happened to John O'Keefe and all that stuff. Oh gosh, I hope the internet's going to be okay. Oh wait, actually I need to lower the kilobytes on my stream. Why does it say 5,000? 2,500. Oh gosh. There's too much that can be either, and I'm not swayed to the state side yet. I know, and if we're like this far in, I don't know if the jury is either. I just don't know.
In order to calculate how far the body would move based on the mass of the object striking the body, could you use displacement using kinematic equations?
So like I said before, the side swipe, he would not have gotten 100% of the vehicle, 100% of the speed of the striking vehicle. It would have vastly underestimated this vehicle. You can hit a person and side swipe them, spin them off to the side, and have that and get a speed from those calculations.
So you're saying that the discipline of physics cannot figure out how far John O'Keefe's body would move, but you personally figured out.
Honestly, I thought he was just gonna go over the car data. Like, I thought he was gonna, you know, they were the ones that took the infotainment system out of Karen Reed's car. They were gonna go over the GPS stuff. They were gonna show that, like, okay, like the backup camera works, the sensor works, and here's information. We downloaded information, and then we found that at this point in time, it seems like the car was in reverse. It seems like the parking sensors were going off, and it seems like there may have been like a mini collision or something. But he's the one that does. Like, he goes over the car stuff, but then he's also going to explain that, like, oh, this is how John was hit, blah, blah, blah. But, like, I just feel like I'm not really convinced. I feel like he doesn't really have that expert level to really tell us about that. So I don't know if the state has another witness who can go into more details, but if this is the guy who is going to be the only one that explains to us how he thinks John O'Keefe was hit by Karen Reed, honestly, I don't think it's enough for me. Hey, Master Commander, how are you doing today? Hello, Joe.
That he would have flown now somewhat, or been projected somewhat 30 feet.
Objection.
Sustained.
Are you saying that the principles of physics are incapable of determining, with the proper calculations, how far John O'Keefe's body would have moved given the collision at issue?
Objection.
Is that what you're saying, Trooper?
No.
Okay, next question.
Also, they asked him earlier, or maybe he's just really nervous on the stand. And for me, it's hard for me to probably answer questions on the spot. But Jackson was like, "What's the rate of velocity?" And it's a very basic physics question. You guys ever took physics before? I hate physics, but it's like, "What's the rate of velocity?" And he was like, and Jackson's like, "Acceleration, right?" And then start going to like a lot of terminology and stuff like that. Like, oh, what's this? What's that? What's that? I'm like, oh my God, if I was on the stand right now, holy shit, I might be sweating too.
Because it was a sideswipe. All these calculations, these physics calculations are inapplicable, right?
I'm saying it would underestimate the speed.
Is the internet okay, guys? Joe, Master Commander? I hope the internet's okay. I see the, I don't know, look in the bottom right-hand corner of my OBS. It seems like it's stabilizing now. Earlier, it seems like it was like in the red a little bit. Agreed. Seems like the CW is trying to pass off a trooper as an expert. I mean, I know he took like crash reconstruction courses, but when you listen to his testimony, he says basic crash reconstruction courses. So I hope there's another expert that they have up their sleeves that's going to go into more details. Who's like, oh, I did the calculations. I did this. I did that. And here's what I found, right? Oh, boy.
Distance.
The truth is, Trooper Paul, you have no idea what all these physics calculations mean, do you?
Objection.
Sustained.
You've not been trained in physics formally, have you?
Yes.
You have been.
It's incorporated into the classes.
Right, you have a few classes that use the word physics, but you haven't been formally trained in physics, have you?
Objection.
Sustained.
You haven't been formally trained in kinematics, correct?
It's in the aspects of all our crash reconstruction classes.
You haven't been formally trained in
The stream seems fine. Yay! Okay, cool.
no degrees in biomechanics, do you?
I do not have a degree in biomechanics.
In fact, basically what you did in this case was calculated initial cycles. And you got those wrong, right?
Objection.
Sustained. Come on, Mr. Jackson. Ask the appropriate part of the question, you'll get it.
The judge has been having some frustrations with Mr. Jackson this morning. How he answers his questions and some of the commentary that he's been making along the way when asking those questions. Mr. Jackson.
Let me ask you this. Based on your reconstruction, nearly 2-year investigation, exactly how was that taillight shattered? Explain it to us.
How does the taillight? So the taillight in this case was shattered when it was struck John O'Keefe's arm.
Exactly what part of his arm?
Based on what I saw for his injuries, was from the upper part of his arm down.
Was his arm out? It just struck the arm like a hinge in front of him? You did the reconstruction? It shows exactly how his body was positioned when he was struck by that.
Thank you.
So it looks like his arm is more kind of like this. If I can try to done.
You're indicating out by his side, right?
Yes.
All right.
And remember, John O'Keefe is like over 6 feet tall.
The taillight when it struck his arm, right?
Yes.
Not his torso.
Yes.
Okay. So the full mass, the full weight of that truck hit him basically at the elbow. Is that right?
No.
Missing his torso.
But I said it's from the upper part of the arm
Right.
down.
The
Yeah.
elbow and the biceps.
I didn't see anything that shows an indication that this lower torso was struck, but
Okay. So his torso,
it's not saying it could not have been a possibility, but I just didn't see anything.
so his torso was spared from being hit, but the arm took the brunt, full force of the vehicle, correct?
Like arm and shoulder, yes.
Okay. And you said he then did a spin, like a sort of pirouette.
He
A
got
pirouette?
spun around possibly the way it struck, it looked like it could have turned around counterclockwise.
Okay. So if he turns around counterclockwise, is he turning around in the air counterclockwise?
Yes, initially.
So he gets hit from the upper biceps, shoulder area, and down to the forearm, right?
Yes.
By an unbroken taillight, right?
Yes.
In other words, it's nice and smooth. No shards of plastic or anything broken at the time that made contact with his arm, right?
Correct.
Okay, so how did his arm get all cut up?
Because when his arm struck the taillight then cracked, and as the car driving past him, the taillight could scratch it.
Got it. So gets hit by the car, not his torso.
Right. So I think this is just the guy where it's like, I mean, we've heard in his testimony and his cross-examination where it's like, I came over there, they told me that, victim was hit by a car, and it seems like he looked for evidence that supported that. Instead of doing like an exploratory search, like, okay, like could have been this, could have been that, so, I don't know. And then Jackson was like, do you know what confirmation bias is?
It's just the arm. The taillight cracks, and as it passes by, his arm stays with it long enough to get striations, those scratches that you see, those lacerations, those abrasions, right?
In a sense, yes.
And at the same time, he does a pirouette
Oh my God, Jackson doing the spins.
and flies 30 feet to his final play rest.
I don't know if he did a pirouette.
Well, I'm using the word pirouette. He spun around.
He started rotating counterclockwise. I don't know how far he ran counterclockwise, but he started rotate. According to that, would push him to rotate counterclockwise. Well, now he went counterclockwise all the way to his back toward the ground. It seems like a most likely possibility.
Did you account for the fact that his arm is on a hinge?
Is what? Say again?
Did you account for the fact in this scenario that you just told the jurors that his arm is on a hinge?
On a
his
hinge.
shoulder?
Okay.
Okay, so arm got hit. His arm just swing.
I said arm and shoulder area, so his arm could have been considered part of it.
Even if his shoulder got the upper
Okay.
pointing to his upper bicep.
Something that they did bring up earlier in cross-examination was, I think on Friday, he said, oh, when people are hit, you know, whatever they're holding sometimes like flies, right? So Jackson was like, okay, well, if John O'Keefe was hit with such a force at like, you know, let's say like 24 miles an hour? They said Karen Reed was reversing. If John Reed was hit at such a force that one of his shoes popped off, well, how come he was still, why was his glass, like the cocktail glass, and why was the phone found near his body? And we didn't really get a good answer from this witness for that.
Steps. Right? There's no injuries on his shoulder. Not a single one.
He was like, I don't know, it just happened, I guess. I guess it just happened.
Not even bruised. Right?
Like I said, it looked like to me it was from up here. I don't know how far I can up back here, but it was up here.
Well,
So
you're the one that talked about his injuries on his arm.
yes.
That's limited to about mid biceps, to about mid forearm, right?
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
No injuries on the shoulder. No injuries on the torso. No injuries on the ribs. No injuries on the back. Right? Is that right?
Yes.
So your theory is you got hit on the arm, took the brunt of the force from the taillight on the arm, stayed with it.
Because I feel like he's testifying beyond his expertise. So when he's up here getting cross-examined, he's getting crushed.
The vehicle long enough, the taillight to explode, basically, to shatter. And the striations get on his arm. Abrasions. Does a pirouette, spin, counterclockwise.
Hi, Taxi. How are you doing today? Must catch up after sleep after marathon hedge cutting on Saturday and Sunday. I did yard work all Saturday because I wanted to stream on Saturday, and I was like, shoot, I bought all these plants that I gotta plant before I head out of town. Oh my god, I did all yard work, 10 hours, and my legs are so beat up from all these mosquitoes and stuff. Didn't get an answer from this witness about much.
He flies 30.
Yeah, I'm like, this is gonna be the clarifying witness. I was so excited to have him testify. There was like pictures and diagrams, and I was like, oh, okay, well, a little disappointing.
Keeping the air to his point breast.
Yeah, have to probably a little faster than that though.
Actually said he hit his head on the curb.
I said that's one of the possibilities of when you look at the roadway as he gets spun around counterclockwise. It's a possibility that the curb is there. Any blunt force object on the ground has the ground is pretty blunt.
Well, except in your scenario that you told us, he flew through the air onto the light.
Oh, like, are they thinking maybe he hit his head on the curb? Taxi, thank you so much for the 249. I still forget to tell the difference between euros and pounds. I think that's euros, right? If it's curved like that. Taxi, thank you so much for the support. I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you.
Grass and dirt.
I didn't say through the air.
Say that again.
I didn't say he got thrown through the air.
Okay, I'll use your word. You got projected.
Projected doesn't mean it's not incorporating just the throw. Project just means you get pushed forward. There's two parts of that. There's the air, then there's the ground. Like I said earlier, the tumbling, the rolling, whatever that part of the crash would happen. Projecting is just what we call what happens to a pedestrian post impact with a crash.
Okay, so a couple questions. If his arm, elbow, took the brunt of that entire impact, how do you account for the fact that he suffered a broken bone?
I don't know.
Hi, Nikita. We have a lot of questions. Like I said, I think what happened was this guy was the one who got the information from the car, was told that John O'Keefe was backed up into by this car, and then he just like put it all together. Like, okay, like this is what it looks like. Okay, good. But then Mr. Jackson's up here. He's like, okay, you got the science to back this up. Did you calculate the mass? Did you do this? And he's like, no, not really. I don't know. That's why I'm like, okay, well, Mr. Lawley, he better have another witness that's going to further explain this. Like, oh, here, I did calculations, and this is what I found, and this is how I did this, and this is how I line up the injuries with John's arms, and this is the height of the tail light, and this is the height of John, and I don't know, like all this stuff, right? But I feel like there's more confusion, if anything. Ay. Sorry. Cheryl says hi, by the way. Cheryl says hello.
How do you account for the fact that he didn't have a fracture?
Objection.
Sustained.
How do you account for the fact that he didn't even have a bruise?
Objection.
That's sustained.
Irreproachable.
Yes.
Yeah, because, I think he might have messed up there. He said that he thinks John O'Keefe was hit by the tail light, but we saw that, his arm, it was scratched up and stuff, but he was hit by the tail light. Wouldn't there also be some bruises, maybe? Possibly a broken arm? I don't know.
investigated auto pedestrian accidents in the past. John O'Keefe's injuries do not look anything like automobile pedestrian accidents.
Yes, they did.
Isn't it true, Trooper Paul? You came to these opinions and conclusions because Trooper Proctor told you to come to these opinions and conclusions in furtherance of his investigation.
That is not true.
That's why you have these opinions and conclusions that just don't make sense, correct?
That is not true.
And you're just trying to fit a square peg into a round hole.
Action.
Sustained. All right, jurors will take morning recess.
Ooh, the end of cross-examination. Oh,
I'll
man.
see counsel at sidebar about
that's
scheduling.
That's a rough one for the Commonwealth, man. That is a rough one. This trial is so rough. Hi, Kurt. Well, new camera angle for today. Yes, for today. I bet Jackson has the expert witness that does do all the calculations. Yeah, maybe. Oh, does anyone know what the court scheduling is this week? Did I have a good weekend? I did. I did a lot of planting. My back hurts. I got like this vintage furniture. It's like this crusty black furniture, black sofa, like cleaned up. But do you guys know how do you make black leather? Like, how do you restore it? It's a little bit cracked. It needs a lot of loving. But I went to the vintage and antique. They have like an outdoor market, and I don't know. I love this couch so much, and it was only like $300. It's like a love seat couch. It was only $350. But if you guys have any tips on how to make leather look
Hey there,
renewed
Karen,
and
retrial
better.
watcher.
Jesse, where is he at right now? Is he in the library? Is that a green screen? Where are you at? I swear the average AI chatbot comes across more humanly, emotionally alive. Well, I mean, if I was Lolly, trying this case, I might be the same way. This is my lead detective? Oh, boy. My witnesses are saying different things? Oh, boy. Some of the major witnesses that are testifying in the stand are being accused of things? Oh, boy. Molly's like, let's just get it over with. All right. Lolly's gonna do redirect, and I don't know if it's really gonna do much. Lolly's redirects are pretty weak in my opinion. Because the defense, they do such a good job at making you second guess what they say on direct testimony, right? This happens a lot when I'm watching trials. We have direct testimony, we're like, oh wow, this sounds really good, this sounds really great. And then we have cross-examination, you're like, ooh, I'm starting to question some of your methods a little bit. But then in redirect, the lawyer comes back and cleans everything back up. We're like, okay, you know what, never mind. Why did I second guess myself, right? But with this one, with the redirect for Mr. Lolly, it's just like, oh, okay, like he's not really doing much, but whatever. If it were me, I would use some type of professional do it, but I'm not handy. I don't know. I don't like people coming into my house, but maybe. I mean, I do need to have someone to mount my stuff, or I can learn to mount it. I don't know. Oh boy. Let's just get this over with. More like, let's draw this out. I think Lolly has a, you know how people have their Fitbits and they have like a 10,000, what's it called? Like 10,000 steps minimum per day. I think Lolly has like a word count per day that he needs to hit his minimum every day. I don't know. Oh, like let's see how many times we can put in what if anything in the same sentence. Like I've heard him say what if anything quite a few times in the same sentence before. Pretty funny. He's a funny guy. Surf City, dash away for cleaning, leather. Yes, I need like leather, rejuvenating, conditioning, whatever it is. That sounds really good. I wonder if we have Surf City in the States or if it's just a European product.
Okay, you see the back section.
I'll look it up. Oh, good idea. Car care products. Yes, good idea. What, if anything, good morning. Who, if anything, are you guys doing today?
Two events on 12,629B. Specified that was consistent with pedestrian collision, is that correct?
That's correct.
And if you could tell the jury why is that consistent with pedestrian?
The one specifically with the speeds and everything that we're referring to.
20.2 miles per hour in reverse for about 60 feet.
Okay, yeah, so why I think that's consistent with a pedestrian strike is because of the sudden change in the speed. It drops down by half mile per hour. The accelerator pedal is staying constant at the same percentage, and the steering wheel angle also turns to the right.
Now, your overall opinion is based on what you did as far as your construction, correct?
Yes,
Other information that you had at your disposal in formulating your...
like from other reports and stuff?
Yes.
Yes,
And that would include physical evidence, is that correct?
correct.
And that would include witness statements, correct?
Do they have any I don't remember if I heard them mentioning this, but parking sensors and whether or not that I don't know, shouldn't it say that parking sensors went haywire and that it detected an item as she was backing up, and that possibly a collision did occur. Do they not have that information with the Lexus?
Sustain is to form.
What, if anything else, would that include?
The roadway evidence, witness statements.
Honestly, I think he should have just stayed away from the physics stuff. I think he should just be like, hey, I'm the guy who downloaded the information, and here's what I got. And then have like the biomechanical person, expert, testify to that, and then have someone to line up the injuries with the car, the height, and all that, you know? I think they expected too much from this guy. And he's like, listen, I just took some crash reconstruction courses, okay? Like, I did a basic physics.
In the statements, would that also include statements of the defendant?
Correct.
Dude, my
Are
face
you aware
down
that the
again.
defendant indicated in the statement to troopers that she conducted a three-point turn in the area of 34 Fairview Road?
I'm going to allow that question.
Yes.
And what you observed in that trigger.
Oh, you know what? Years ago, I was in a passenger in a car accident. My phone flew from my hand. It didn't matter how hard I was holding it. It came out of my hands like butter. Sort of unrelated, but I remember when I was in the front passenger seat, I was holding my phone in my hand, and something happened where we had to brake really hard, and the phone flew from my hand into my fucking face. And you know how big and heavy these phones are nowadays, okay? It hurts so much.
During events, is that from that mileage, is that consistent with the defendant's own statement?
Yes, it is.
Now, let me ask you a little bit, if you could, again, for the jury, clarify the difference between what you termed as an area of impact versus a point of impact.
Yes, an area impact is broader. It's a bigger area. Point to impact would mean something as obviously right there. That would be the area impact.
If I could ask, the cell phone that was located under Mr. O'Keefe's body, that location, is that also consistent with the linear path that you were testifying about earlier?
Yes, it was.
And do you know whether or not that cell phone was in his hand or in his back pocket or somewhere else?
I do not know.
Oh, like if it was in his pocket, it could have flew out, and that's why he landed on top of it? Back pocket, I feel like, no, it wouldn't fly out unless his pockets were super no, I don't know. Pockets? Maybe. No, we saw what he was wearing. Because I was thinking, like, you know how sometimes you have a, one of those, like, sweater zipper jackets, and then you put a phone in there, it's, like, really shallow, it, like, barely stays in. But we saw what John O'Keefe was wearing, and I don't remember seeing any pockets on that sweatshirt / hoodie he was wearing. I don't remember seeing it. He was wearing jeans, however, but I don't know. If he put the phone in his pocket, no, because let's say he was sitting in the car, right? No, I feel like he probably had his phone in his hand. And this is why I think that. Because him and Jim McCabe were calling, and then she was probably texting. He probably had his phone, like, you know, thinking about, okay, should I tell her if I'm going to go in or not? Should I tell her we're not going in? I don't think he had his phone in his pocket, because sitting with your phone in your pocket is uncomfortable. I feel like he would just have the phone in his hand. Unless he got out of the car and then put the phone in his pocket. I don't know. I would probably think maybe in the back pocket. The front pocket, a large iPhone, front pocket is too uncomfortable when you're wearing jeans. Back pocket, possibly, but I feel like, I don't think it would be able to fly out. I don't know, maybe. I don't know, I don't think so. Oh, Waymer is a 3-for-1 cleaner and conditioner for leather available. Okay, and then like it's black leather, it's a little bit faded. So is that like a cure-all? Or do I have to get separate products for everything? Like, do I have to get a leather conditioner and then get a leather color thing? Because the black part is faded. So I don't know if there's a product that I can put on there to make it look darker or something like that. I don't know. I have to use the bathroom. I drank so much water, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm so glad that I'm talking about this with you guys because I think I watched Thursday and Friday by myself and not being able to discuss with someone or like talk up my ideas out loud. It was frustrating. I don't know how the jury's dealing with this. Imagine getting all this information, this flood information, and not be able to talk about it for 6-7 weeks. I'd be itching to talk to people. Oh my gosh. Okay, Wayman, not Waymar. Damn it, autocorrect. That wasn't the worst autocorrect. Guy pockets are bigger though. I keep my phone in my front pocket all the time. Really? Front pocket? But when you're wearing jeans and you're walking, doesn't it kind of like hit your upper thigh? I feel like it's so uncomfortable. Okay, so the conditioner will make it appear dark in all likelihood. You can also recolorize leather, but if you aren't a pro, it might be dangerous and may rub off on clothes and ruin them. Okay, yeah, that's a hell no for me. Give me like the level 1 basic stuff, okay?
As far as let me ask you this. You were shown some photographs of some taillight pieces near a fire, correct?
Yes.
As far as the area of impact, that was, from what you determined, that was Mr. O'Keefe's sneaker, is that correct?
Yeah, it was within that. When I would have had for no initial evidence, I said the air impact was the start in that area prior to the
I'm
sneaker.
sorry,
So what I was saying was the air impact was prior to the area the sneaker was. It was in that path, just prior to that area.
And why did you determine that it was in that area?
Because that is the first point of evidence.
And first, I'm sorry, this first point of evidence in relation to what? And
Because I was thinking maybe he got hit and he flung a bit. His foot got caught on the curb, and that's why his shoe was left there. And then he fell backwards and hit his head. But what about the injury on his nose? Didn't he have a nose injury where his nose is bleeding? Or was his nose just bleeding as a result of the skull fractures?
sort of how the evidence was configured as it was evidence.
That was pointed to me as the first point of evidence away from, for the first point of evidence at that time that knew away from the pedestrian.
And he contradicts himself. I can't say the hit flipped him over, but according to the evidence, it's what happened.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Yes.
And Your Honor, with court's permission, if I apologize. And to recall, do you recognize what's up on the screen?
Yes, I do.
What do you recognize that?
There's 34 Fairview at the left side, and this is the fire hydrant.
And as far as these photographs and the photographs shown to you by Mr. Jackson on cross-examination, do you know when those photographs were taken?
I do not know specifically at what time those were taken.
You don't know if those photographs were taken on February 3rd, 2022?
Objection.
The objection sustained.
Now, Trooper, if you could, using a laser pointer, I know you've done this on the diagram, but if you could use a laser pointer with regard to what's on the screen as Exhibit 58, direct the jury's attention to where you believe the area of impact to be, and it's Lexus and Mr. O'Keefe.
It's probably somewhere out here.
And as far as that linear path that you were talking about from the area of impact, where did that go from and where did that go to?
So from, I think it's from like this way.
Okay, let's go with you guys and take that time. May I approach this for tree count?
I don't want to conserve any dirt in the leather. Ew, that sounds so gross. Yes, I do not want to conserve any dirt in the leather.
Now, Trooper, if you could explain to the jury as far as what you were describing as Mr. O'Keefe's post-impact movement, starting sort of with the point of impact between himself and the SUV.
Oh, God. Oh, you know what's hilarious is the way Lolly answers questions with the sort of, what if any. This guy uses a lot of sort ofs and probablys in the same sentence.
To the point where he comes to final rest on the wall.
Yes, so he was struck along the right side in the area of his arm, and then he was, post-impact with the Lexus, he rotated counterclockwise and eventually hit the ground and came to final rest.
And the ground, based on your understanding of the weather conditions, was frozen at the time, is that correct?
Wait, when you guys saw John O'Keefe's face, do y'all remember there was blood coming out of his nose, right? Did it look like he was struck in the nose? Because that's where I was really tripped up about John O'Keefe. I was like, was he hit in the face? Or was he hit in the back of the head? I could have sworn I saw an injury on his nose and an injury on his back of his head. Like, didn't he have a cut on his nose? Look at these miserable photos. I took last photos of shitty with a cheap film camera 35 years ago. I don't know what's up with the pictures. I have no idea. Yes, all over his clothes as though he was gushing blood from his face. I could have sworn they said they had he had a cut on his nose, I think, right?
Objection.
Sustained. Watch the form, Mr. Lally.
Yes. So as far as anything in your testimony about...
Because what he's saying is that John was hit in the right arm. That's why he has the scratches. He did like a semi-quarter turn of some sort and then fell, and then that's it.
Mr. O'Keefe's actions, does that involve a pirouette?
No.
So there's a rotation, is that correct?
Correct.
And as far as 30 feet in the air, do you have any opinion as to whether or not he flew 30 feet in the air?
I don't have any evidence that he would have flown 30 feet in the air.
And so as far as from your training experience when it comes to pedestrian collisions, are you able to determine or calculate how much distance someone is in the air and how much distance someone sort of rolls or tumbles to their final resting position?
Say it again.
From your training experience,
Yes.
based on this collision, are you able to determine how far Mr. O'Keefe was traveled in the air versus how far he traveled tumbling or rolling after he hit the ground?
Do you guys think it would have been helpful to have the medical examiner testify before him?
I do not have a calculation for the specific style of pedestrian crash due to the side swipe. So if I did, I could use the formula. It would just vastly underestimate the speed of the vehicle.
Someone said when you get struck in the back of the head, it can lead to bloodshot eyes like John O'Keefe had. Yeah, I've heard that from a couple different people. I was watching Lawyer You Know's stream, and he mentioned that he talked to someone that was in the medical field as well, that it's possible that if you had like some skull fractures or something, if you were hit in the back of your head, it's possible that it could lead to your eyes being swollen like that and like kind of bloodshot or something. But I have a friend that works in the ER. I haven't seen him yet, but when I go to his kid's birthday, I'm sure ask him.
Let me ask you a little bit about it. You're talking about the sterile pedestrian throw formula, correct?
Correct.
And that's something developed in the course of physics specific to Reconstruction by someone named Dr. Searle, correct?
Correct.
And that's S-E-A-R-L-E,
But what about the nose
is that
injury?
correct?
That is correct.
And with respect to Dr. Searle's formula, why is that inapplicable in sideswipe collision versus some other type?
Because it takes in, it's looking for more, not so much the formula, it's how much projection efficiency that would occur, how much percentage of the speed of the striking vehicle would have happened. In order for the formula to work, the more of the body would have struck the vehicle, the more efficient the outcome would be in the speed.
In the center of mass that you were talking about, sort of in the collision sequence, what, if any, role does that play in regard to your ability to do that calculation?
It would just, like I said, it would underestimate the speed of the striking vehicle due to the center mass not within the rear of the vehicle.
And not to twist your words or anything, but as far as when you say underestimate, that would not be an accurate reflection of the defendant's vehicle speed, correct?
Correct.
Because I just feel like when he was getting hammered by the defense, he was not very confident in answering the questions.
Now, you asked some questions about the glass and indicated that there are a number of reasons why the glass would travel with him being Mr. O'Keefe. Can you explain what those are?
Yeah, the glass could have struck the vehicle also in the same way. Could have still been attached to his hand and still gone with him in the same way. It could have been attached to his body in there. That's the multiple ways that the glass would have stayed with him.
Now,
Interesting.
and speaking of collision sequences, particularly collisions involving multiple vehicles, vehicles are fixed with bumpers, correct?
What I would have loved to hear from him, especially if he does this like crash reconstruction shit, I would love to have heard from him, and maybe we didn't hear this from him because he hasn't seen other similar scenarios. Would have been, I've worked on 50 other cases where I've seen people hit by a car, and no, not at high speeds, and there are times where I found people that did have their cell phones with them when they were hit, or had their drinking glass with them or something like that. But, I mean, he probably never... I don't know, how often do people get hit, I guess, by a car at low speeds? Or not low speeds, but at like 20-ish miles per hour, not like 50, 60, plus.
Correct.
What's the purpose of a bumper on a vehicle?
To help absorb the.
Yes! Oh my god, that's a weird one too. I don't know, that's a weird one. So on Karen Reed's car, they found pieces of glass on the bumper. And the glass on the bumper match the glass found at the scene, but not the cocktail glass that was found at the scene, right? And it's like, we thought that it was going to be the cocktail glass that was found on Karen Reed's bumper. What glass is it? And then they talked about the tail light. It's like, okay, maybe there's some glass pieces in the tail light bulbs, something in there. I don't fucking know. But I think it was either him or Tully that testified. No, it wasn't anything inside the tail light that would have had any glass. That would have been left on the bumper or something. So now I'm like, what are those glass pieces? Where did it come from?
Scope?
Yes.
Yeah. Sustained.
Your Honor, if I may, I don't believe it is.
So why don't we come to Sacco?
I mean, she did drive a beast of a SUV. It's a big old car. And people said that there was like light dusting on the ground.
Oh, I'm sorry again. If I could ask you, what is the purpose of a bumper on a vehicle?
It's there to help absorb energy from a collision.
And with reference to
Oh, and you know what kills me? I don't know if it's with this witness, but I'm sorry. I'm just remembering pieces of testimonies from like Thursday and Friday. One was they had a picture of John O'Keefe's car. They're like, there's no damage, blah, blah, blah. And then Jackson, or I think it was Jackson, was like, well, did you ever take John O'Keefe's car and then line it up with Karen Reed's car? And they're like, no. It's like, why not? Why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you take both vehicles and see if, like, hey, if she backed up in this angle, like it's shown on the ring camera, is it possible for her to back up into John O'Keefe's car and smash her taillight instead of having her bumper come in contact with his bumper, right? But they didn't do that. I'm like, why? Why not? Don't you guys like doing science experiments? Oh, Jesus.
the scratches that you were asked about on the vehicle on sort of the right rear quarter panel, what, if any, relationship does bumpers or their interaction have, to your opinion, as it relates to that?
Sorry, say it again.
Back to what you just testified about bumpers, you were also asking questions about scratches on the right rear quarter panel of the vehicle, correct?
Correct.
And what, if any, relationship does the bumpers on the vehicle and sort of their intended purpose have with relation to the scratches that you observed?
So the bumpers on the side was more of this wasn't more of a direct on hit with the bumper. It was more of the side scraping of the paint of the bumper.
Now, the presence of Mr. O'Keefe's DNA on the taillight, is that consistent with a pedestrian collision?
Yes.
Now,
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. John O'Keefe's DNA being found in the taillight, it just doesn't seem like a huge wow to me because Karen Reed's car was parked at John's house. He was in that car. You know, like, I don't know. His DNA being found on the taillight is not a huge deal to me. However, if it was John and Karen and they didn't know each other, they were strangers, and the taillight was found on her bumper or something like that, then yeah, that's a huge deal. But I mean, I don't really find it a huge major deal. Yeah.
as far as the glass,
And also, they didn't find blood on the car. I don't know. What a weird fucking case.
not matching, are you aware that the lab's actual findings were that the glass on the bumper and the glass on the roadway was just not found to be consistent with each other? Is that your understanding? If you know.
I don't know.
And were you also aware that
Wait, what? Sorry, Karen and I are making the same faces right now. I thought the glass on the bumper and the glass that they found at the scene was consistent with each other. Those matched, but it didn't match the cocktail glass.
the lab's finding was that the glass on the bumper was consistent with the glass on the road?
I'm not sure what the lab said.
Was consistent with the glass on the road.
I'm not sure what the lab said.
Now, in order to construct your diagrams, your testimony, I believe, was that you had used certain diagrams in the process of that. Is that correct?
Yes.
And if I could turn back to that 12629B, the mileage from the tech stream data.
Yes.
The 3-point turn that you observed in the 24.2 mile per hour straight line for approximately 62 feet.
Hey,
How far
Sean.
apart time-wise within that particular triggering event were those
All-wheel drive, yeah. And she had a beast of a car. That shit was huge.
two incidents?
8 minutes.
And as far as any of the other tech that particular mile per hour straight line for approximately 62 feet, how far apart time-wise within that particular triggering event were those two incidents?
8 minutes.
And as far as any of the other tech stream data that you observed, was there any other triggering event that included a 3-point turn?
No.
Now, as far as the defendant's path of travel, is it your understanding that that was obtained from a multitude of different witnesses?
Yes.
Now, with reference to, you were asking questions about the
Now, I think Matt McCabe and Jen McCabe said they saw like squiggly lines in the road, but when they asked Matt McCabe, oh, does it look like a 3-point turn? He's like, I don't know what a 3-point turn looks like.
defendant's cell phone. As far as GPS locations, were you aware that the defendant's cell phone wasn't able to be accessed until by law enforcement until 2023?
Sustained.
Were you aware that the defendant's cell phone had GPS locations turned off on the defendant's cell phone?
I'll allow that.
Aware that the defendant's cell phone wasn't able to be accessed until by law enforcement until 2023?
Sustained.
Were you aware that the defendant's cell phone had GPS locations turned off on the defendant's cell phone?
I'll allow that.
I was not aware.
Now, as far as placing the vehicle during that triggering event, 12629B, did you use key cycles to put it back at that location at that time?
No, I didn't.
What did you use?
I looked at the odometer mileage
And why would you look at the odometer mileage over the key cycles?
because I can physically see the odometer mileage at the vehicle at the time of my inspection.
And why would, well, let me ask you this. In your opinion, as far as that is concerned, sort of backtracking to a specific location, which is more reliable, the odometer or the key cycles?
I would say the odometer mileage.
And why is it?
Like I said, you can physically see it when you're in the car, and I know that's the odometer mileage that it's reading on the dashboard.
In every key cycle,
Yeah, I think the key cycle had like some missing activity or something.
is that necessarily recorded within the tech stream data? And
No,
why not, sir?
it only records stuff that related to the triggers.
They don't what?
They only record stuff that is related to the triggers.
Okay, thank you.
As far as counsel's hypothetical with regard to the key cycles, is it your opinion that that hypothetical is accurate or inaccurate?
Inaccurate.
And why so?
Because you also add the odometer mileage onto the key cycle, so those key cycles and odometer mileage are on the same trigger, and plus the data seems consistent with everything else that's going on with this collision.
Now, fair to say that you were not outside of 34 Fairview Road on January 29th, sometime around 12:20 to 12:30 a.m. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so, fair to say that you don't know exactly how Mr. O'Keefe and/or Glass or anything that he's holding interacted with the defendant's vehicle at that time.
Objection.
I'll allow it. Is that
You
true?
can only guess.
I do not.
And so, based on your training and experience and the number of pedestrian crashes that you've investigated, again, if you could, one last time, just describe to the jury how you believe the vehicle interacted with Mr. O'Keefe and why.
Objection.
Sustained. It's asked and answered.
Yeah, that's an
With
answer.
reference to what you've described as far as the interaction between Mr. O'Keefe and the vehicle, why is that your opinion?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
Based on the evidence from the vehicle, based on the injuries to John O'Keefe, the tail light appears to be broken and it's sharp plastic pieces that could have ripped his arm, and also the dent with the scratches above it is consistent with a hand holding a glass and the glass on top smashing on the vehicle and the hand smashing the vehicle. You can see there's a line between scratches and a dent there.
Thank you. Dr. Schroeder.
Judges, no more on this. Every key cycle in the history of the car is on this page, right?
That's correct.
I'm pulling up Exhibit 591.
Okay.
Oh,
That
go back to the
indicates
microphone.
Key cycles that have triggering events, correct?
Yes.
Triggering events are something that the manufacturer includes basically a list of items that will be a triggering event, correct?
Yes.
It's a list of items basically for mechanics to figure out if there's some unusual driving or unusual event with the vehicle, correct?
Yes.
But the key cycles go in order, they're numerical, 1 through whatever.
Correct.
Each one of those would represent a key cycle, correct?
So in your hypothetical, I mean, assume that it should create a key cycle, but that you can't just say that key cycle's from that because I didn't just use key cycles. I used the odometer mileage on top of it. So you have to have key cycle and odometer.
Interestingly, though, when you testified on direct examination, you said your analysis, and this was on Friday, or the weekend. By the way, over the weekend, did you watch anything on, I don't know, YouTube or any social media?
No.
Nothing.
No.
No. Did you have any conversations with Mr. Lally about these key cycles and problems?
No.
Did you have any conversations with anybody about the issues with key cycles?
No.
Did you realize at some point between Friday and today that I was probably going to ask you some questions about key cycles?
Objection.
Did you realize that yourself?
I assumed you were going to ask me loads of information.
So on Friday, you didn't mention that your analysis was based on mileage, did you?
Objection.
Sustained.
On Friday, did you mention that your analysis was predicated on mileage?
Objection.
I'll see you at sidebar.
Oh, so Jackson is trying to say that, like, oh, you must realize somewhere along the way that there was an issue with the key cycles because, I think some of them weren't really logged properly. And that's why instead of, just relying only on key cycles, now the witness is saying that he also relied on the odometer, I guess. I listened to his testimony, but when they got to the voir dire part, I didn't get to finish that.
Based on the key cycles, starting at 1164 when you started your testing, and 1162, which was the key cycle you claimed on Friday, was at 34 Fairview.
It wasn't based on it. That's how I describe it. I said key cycles. I based it on they were close within proximity to each other, but I've always said it's key cycles and odometer mileage, plus all the information within the triggers themselves. So it wasn't just one or the other.
And you said on Friday that once you started your testing at 1164, it was 2 cycles earlier that had the triggering events, meaning 1162, that you claimed were 34 Fairview.
Yes.
But in the hypothetical, if there were 4 events, 4 key cycle events between 1164 and 1159, it could not have occurred at 1162, correct? 34 Fairview. In my hypothetical.
In your hypothetical, if it recorded a key cycle, then your hypothetical is correct.
Right. And last question, if you got the route of travel incorrect, if your presumption of the route of travel was incorrect on that vehicle in the days earlier, then your mileage would be incorrect also, correct?
Mileage from what, the odometer or from?
The odometer reading.
The odometer reading is the odometer reading. It's 36.
My point is, your analysis that's based on the odometer reading, 36 miles here, 12 miles there, 2 miles here, 5 miles there, if you got the route of travel wrong, and the route of travel was different, your assumptions about the odometer readings would be incorrect as well, correct?
So what I'm
If you got the path of travel wrong.
So I purposely put down a range on my Google Images showing, because I couldn't tell you her definitively route of path for every single way. But I know that it's possibly a possibility that she could travel 36 miles within those locations that she traveled post leaving Fairview Road.
Or if that mileage was put on at key cycle 1162, and that would mean that the vehicle would already be in Massachusetts State Police custody, right? Reasonable proctor's custody.
Objection.
So that's beyond the scope.
That's all I have.
All right, Mr. Lally?
Just very briefly. The range that you came up with for the defendant's path of travel, does that fit with the path of travel, the odometer reading, putting the defendant's vehicle in the area of 34 Fairview Road when it does the 3-point turn, and then 8 minutes later when it travels 24.2 miles per hour in a straight line in reverse for approximately 62 feet?
Yes.
Nothing further.
All right, you are all set.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Oh man, rough. Like, yes, get me get me off the stand. Imagine how miserable it must feel to be sitting on the jury and being expected to make a responsible decision in this case. As things stand, it will make you feel miserable either way.
Now, she'll break to set up some things in the court.
I don't know. Imagine being the jury and then still not knowing what the hell is going on. All right, did they take their little lunch break? What's court schedule this week? Oh, new witness. Okay, who do we have here? Think this witness is going to do better?
Yeah, Mr. Lally, you just need to tell me when I need to give that instruction.
Yes.
Okay.
Just raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give to the court and the jury in the matter now pending shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony...
Good afternoon.
And if it's at all helpful, that microphone before you is adjustable. You can put it in any direction you wish. Just try to keep your voice up. Okay, sir?
Thank you.
Now, sir, could you please state your name and spell your last name for the jury?
Yes, it's Ian Whiffin. So IANWHIFFIN.
And what is it that you do for work, sir?
I'm currently the decoding product manager at Cellbrite.
Oh, the Cellbrite dude. So we're going to go back to Jen McCabe stuff. Instead of proving that Karen Reed did it, XYZ, here are the injuries and all that stuff. Okay.
And what is Cellbrite?
We're back to defending Jen McCabe, I think.
Cellbrite is one of the world leaders in mobile forensics software.
And when you say forensic software, can you explain to the jury a little bit about what is forensic software and how is it used, specifically your software?
Also, what do you guys use for bug bites? I have these bug bites that are driving me crazy. Oh my god, I'm trying so hard not to scratch it, but it's so itchy.
Yeah, so forensic software is used to gain access to people's devices, cell phones primarily, to extract that data and to allow examiners to parse and decode that data to make sense of it in a more user-friendly way so that a report can be created for investigators.
Now, sir, if I could ask you just a few questions going back to some of your educational and prior work experience starting sort of with your undergraduate work. What, if any, where did you go to school and what, if any, degree did you receive there?
Okay, I didn't get a degree. I'm originally from the UK, where I did qualifications in computing, a higher national certificate in computing, and then joined the police in 2004.
And what department was that, sir?
That was response work, so South Yorkshire Police as a response officer.
And where did you go from there?
In 2009, I immigrated to Canada, where I was able to continue policing with the Calgary Police Service, where I spent approximately 4 or 5 years, again, working patrol, before moving to the digital forensics team of Calgary Police.
And with respect to moving to that digital forensics team, what, if any, specialized training did you receive in regard to that area?
So once I had made it into the digital forensics, I was sent to Ottawa for 3 weeks to do a foundational...
Ottawa's in Canada, right?
...computer forensics course, covering all manner of digital forensics to begin with. Throughout my 8 years with Calgary Police, I did constant courses each year to keep information updated, including a 2-week course, again, at the Canadian Police College in Ottawa, specifically about cell phone forensics.
Ottawa.
And then also during that time, additional courses for extracting data for interpreting internet artifacts or any other kind of information found on a phone or computer.
And following that...
I use red or white wine. The more it bothers me, the more I drink to ease the pain. I used to love drinking white wine, but I don't know. Red has been hitting the spot lately, but I'm like going back to white a little bit. Going back to white. Is Ottawa's East Coast, right?
Where did you go from there?
In 2020, I left Calgary Police Service and began working at Cellbrite as the senior digital intelligence expert, where I would use my knowledge of the forensic community to assist the developers with creating and maintaining a program that examiners would want to use. And finally, about 2 years ago, I moved to the decoding product manager position.
Can you explain
Is she still Canada-based?
to the jury sort of what it is, what your role is, and
Hi, Mom. How are you doing today? What are your thoughts so far about these past witnesses?
what is it that you do for Cellbrite?
Yep, so right now in the position that I'm in, again, I use my knowledge of the digital forensics landscape in the community. I talk with users about their daily challenges, what applications are causing them problems, what they need to get access to, what they need to understand. And I take that information, create a priority list, and then determine with our developers
what we will tackle, how we will tackle it, and how it will appear to the end user.
Now, with regard to your education in this area, what, if any,
Wait, it is? No way. I thought it was Ottawa. I thought it was Toronto.
certifications do you have?
What?
No specific certifications. I've done the Cellbrite coursework since joining Cellbrite, but other than the 3-week course in Ottawa and then again the 2-week course in Ottawa, I don't have the SANS training.
Oh my god, you're right. Don't tell my Canadian friends I said that. Shh.
Or any of that kind of training certifications.
And
The first witness, which one? Trooper, the crash reconstruction guy, or Tully?
in addition to your work
Is New York the capital of the U.S.? Yes, of course it is. You don't know that?
with Cellbrite, what, if any, other areas of the field have you worked in?
I'm sorry, could you rephrase that?
Oh, thank you, Trooper Paul.
Have you given any presentations? Have you published any work in relation to this area?
Yes. So since working as an examiner, I identified that there were times that I needed to parse artifacts from applications that main vendors didn't support. In response to that, I would do my own research. That research turned into a selection of digital forensics tools, and I created a website for myself to share that research, to share those tools with the community. And directly related to that, I have published articles related to accessing data on phones, related to SQL databases, related to various other artifacts, primarily locations.
Over the course of your work, have you had occasion to testify in other courts in relation to this specific field?
Yes, related to digital forensics, I've testified approximately 20 times, mainly in Canada, but also once in Michigan, once in Australia, once in the UK.
Now, as far as questions that come into your company with relation to interpretation of data, other sort of general forensic questions, what parts of the world do these questions come in from, and how widely used is it from?
So the product is used globally. There are a select number of countries that we don't export to, but generally, if a police service is interested in digital forensics, then they're using at least some of our tools. We operate an email address which is open to any
Someone's phone is going on. It must be someone in the courtroom because it would never be the streamer. That's so disrespectful.
user called Stumpers. And the idea is that users, if they come across a artifact that they can't explain, they can email to myself and some of my colleagues, and we can research the artifact and we can try and give them an answer.
You think she backed up when he stumbled, hitting him in the head, scraping his arm? Have you seen John's face by any chance? Do you remember if there was a scratch on his nose? Because I think that's where I was really tripped up initially about this, or still am, I guess. I wasn't sure if he was hit in the front and then landed in the back, or if he was hit front or back. I don't know. But now I'm like, wait, was he actually, did he have an injury in his nose? I remember them saying that his nose was bleeding and there was like a scratch on his nose. Moondog, how are you doing today? How's it going? Yeah, no Twitch stream today, so you guys all have to come on YouTube. I'm not confident doing dual stream on an internet hotel.
As to say why the artifact's there and how it should be interpreted.
You determined there as far as an artifact. If you could please explain to the jury sort of what your understanding of that term is and how it's used within your specific industry.
Yeah, so I would refer to an artifact as essentially any piece of data which I've recovered from the phone, which is of interest. It could be a web history visit. It could be a text message. It could be a photograph. Any piece of information.
Now, sir, turning your attention to September of 2023, at some point in that month, were you contacted by the Norfolk District Attorney's Office and the State Police in regards to this case?
Eventually, yes. Initially, I was contacted by a member of Cellbrite.
And if you know why was that initial, as far as the initial contact, initial request?
Yeah, in the trial, we didn't get to see it, but I know it's out there.
From Cellbrite, can you speak about that?
My understanding was there was an artifact found on a device, and people were looking for an explanation as to how this particular timestamp was relevant to the case.
Now, if you could explain to the jury sort of what you...
I wonder if they're going to play the interviews in the trial. Actually, there's only one interview that she did, right? I didn't find any other interview. I just saw one interview that she did and then one interview that the dad and the mom did.
What were you provided and what were you asked to look at?
So the original question is just basically how can we explain this 227 timestamp? I spoke to my colleague and requested if he could contact the investigators and any information that they could share about where this particular timestamp was found so that I could investigate it. I was advised at that time that the case had already been uploaded to our own support network, so the full extraction of the device in question was already in Cellbrite's possession, and I was able to access it from there and start to examine what the issue was that was causing the confusion.
Now, with reference to this issue, can you describe?
So Thursday or Friday, I forgot which day, but we already had an expert that went up there, and I found her to be pretty credible. I thought she was a pretty good witness. She went up there, she testified, and she said that the Jen McCabe searching hose long die in the snow happened at the 6th timeline, not the 237, 247 timeline that initially what the defense said. And she said that was because when you look at when searches are done, you don't only look at like one location, you have to look at like other locations as well to verify that that search was actually done at this time or something like that. Something about like tabs being activated, or sorry, something about like tabs being active. And then also the deletion too. So she doesn't believe that there was a deleted search was because even though there was one part that made it look like it was deleted, I think it's like removed or something like that, you have to go to other areas to verify that this was indeed a deletion. So she said that like you can't just look at like one part, you have to look at multiple other areas as well to verify if indeed in fact if the search was made at like 227 and if there really was a deletion. But we haven't heard, of course, from the defense witness yet. So I don't know. I feel like it makes more sense if the defense would have had the witness to testify, like, oh, Jen McCabe did the search, and then the state would have had a, the rebuttal to reply to that. But I don't know if the state is just getting ahead of it by having her testify about it now, I guess, maybe. I don't know. But if I was a jury, I don't know. I might be like, huh? Hello, Morton. How are you doing today? How's it going? His cell phone started to ring on stage. Oh no, that's so embarrassing. I had this psychology teacher, this abnormal psychology teacher, who something was wrong with her. I don't know what the hell is wrong with her, but I was in class and then my phone went off, but it was actually my alarm that went off because I had my phone on silent, right? But what happens is when you silent your phone, your alarm can override that. So my phone went off. And I was it was my alarm that went off, and I was trying to find it, and I couldn't find it. So I rushed out of class. I grabbed the phone, and I just rushed out of the class. And I could hear her being like all snarky, like saying, oh, if you think your phone call is more important than class, and you shouldn't even be here. But it's like, I'm not trying to answer the fucking phone call. I just didn't want to disrupt the class further. So I took my phone out to the hallway to try to like, shut it down and all that stuff. I don't know. She was batshit crazy. If you came to class 5 minutes late, she would lock you out for 20 minutes. Fuck that teacher. Also, oh, I think my camera's gonna die soon. Hold on, let me get a battery. No, I don't want the. Hold on a second. I'm setting up the camera right now. Okay, it should be charging. If it dies, I'll be sad.
To the jury, just in general terms, sort of what this issue was.
Yeah, so the issue, as I was led to believe, is there was a timestamp for a web history artifact of 2:27 and 40 seconds AM local time, which would be UTC 5, and it didn't make sense to the investigators. And the question was, is there...
Mom says, you know what else bothers me? She woke up immediately and started recruiting people to search for John when she never even looked through the house. Question mark. How does she know he didn't come home? Question mark. The question that I also had was, because I know people are like, oh, how come the people at 34 Fairview didn't come outside? Did they not hear the commotion? Da da da. Well, I was wondering, why didn't Karen knock at the 34 Fairview house and then ask, hey, what happened? What the fuck? I dropped him off here. He was at your front of the house. Like, what the hell happened here? Like, yes, I get that Jen McCabe was there, but wouldn't you want to also go to the homeowners and talk to them as well? I don't know. That stood out to me.
Or any other interpretation for what this timestamp could mean.
And so essentially you were asked to explain the timestamp and how it came to be, correct?
Correct.
And as far as this particular issue, has this arisen in other instances? Have you been asked the same question or similar questions in regard to this type of artifact?
Yeah, several weeks later, so probably around December time last year, I was contacted by a police investigator in Austria with a very similar question, but related to obviously a different internet search. And about a week later, the defense expert in the same case also contacted me asking the same question. The defense expert in that case was able to provide the database, and I was able to provide the answer.
Now, as far as the full extraction, is that the entirety of what you looked at in this instance, or what, if anything else, were you
Oh, wait, why is
provided
there
with regard
information
to
on here? Oh, God.
Your review and your analysis.
So I did work with the full extraction, but my interest was focused on just the web history artifacts.
What, if anything, did you find with regard to the web history artifact?
So the 22740 timestamp was correct insofar as that is the time that is shown within the database. It was indeed a deleted record, but the interesting thing was why the timestamp said 22740. And I did some testing on this and discovered the reason why 22740 was actually listed in the database, even though that's not the time, in my opinion, that the search was conducted.
And what is your opinion as to when the search was conducted?
There's plenty of other evidence on that extraction that shows what activity was occurring at 227 and 40 seconds. And there's plenty of evidence later on in the day that shows that that particular search was conducted at 6:23, I believe 51 seconds, and then a similar search at 6:24 and 18 seconds, I believe.
And before we get to that, Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
Question I'm showing you without me asking.
Thank you.
Is it still there? I don't know.
Yes,
Do you recognize that, sir?
I do, yes.
What do you recognize that to be?
This was the internet history,
I
the
remove
history.db database table showing activity from the morning of the 29th of January 2022.
May I approach, General?
Are
Yes.
there still squares in my
Also,
face?
use this, next exhibit.
Okay.
I'm good now? Okay.
Your Honor, may I return to the witness?
Yes.
Your Honor, if I may, this information will be published in the jury.
Yes.
Your Honor, may I approach this retrieve?
Yes.
Now, Mr. Wicker, do you recognize what's up on screen now is the exhibit you have before you?
I do, yes.
And Ms. Wicker, there should be a laser pointer on the desk next to you. What I'm going to ask you to do is, if you could, using that laser pointer, explain to the jury what we're looking at in this exhibit and what, if anything, you're to observe within this exhibit.
Okay, of course.
Talk about
So this was a
sports.
table I created based on the data from the phone. The first column shows the local time of a record that was written to the history database. This is a database which is tracking all web pages which are loaded as you use them. The second column starts with the URL, so the Uniform Resource Locator, so what you would type in or how the browser knows which website you want to visit. The title is part of the website which is loaded. One of the top attributes of the website will load the title. Visit count relates to an internal counter within Safari, which just tracks how many times a particular website is visited in order to make suggestions to you down the road. And then finally, the last column shows the source of this information. So history.db is the name of the database. History_visits is the name of the table. And then the number is the unique identifier, which is assigned to that particular record in consecutive order. So every time you add a new record, that number will increase by 1.
Mr. Wicker, probably a couple of foundational questions I should have asked you first. My apologies. With respect to the cell phone extraction that you were provided, that was from a individual named Jennifer McCabe, is that correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
And fair to say you don't know Jennifer McCabe, never met her, don't know anything about her?
Correct.
And as far as a extraction is concerned, if you could please explain to the jury sort of what your understanding of that is. What is an extraction?
An extraction in this case, all of the files and folders had been extracted from the device, saved on a computer in a zip file container. So essentially,
Wait, am I going crazy or do I hear like a beeping noise in the courtroom?
in a way that is as close to the original from the device as possible.
And again, what is your title specifically with Cellbrite?
It's decoding product manager at the moment.
And so what, if any, relation does what you do have with relation to an extraction and how that's What's sort of the relationship between what you do and a cell-writing traffic?
So once the extraction's been extracted and we have the zip file, then Physical Analyzer is the tool that Cellbyte creates to allow examiners to look at that extracted data in a meaningful way. And my role is somewhat shaping how examiners will see that data when they open up Physical Analyzer and look at the extracted data.
And how does your role play into that? What is it that you do what, if any, relationship does what you do have to do with how examiners will view something from Cellbyte tool?
Again, so after being an examiner for 10 or 11 years, I've got that kind of understanding of how
I guess we don't care for medical examiner today.
examiners work. Being someone who also writes my own software and does my own research, then I can kind of cross that void that usually exists between developers and examiners and help both parties try to come to a meaningful conclusion.
Ms. Gilman, if you could shrink that just a little. Out a little. It gives you
Which occurred at 2:27 and 42 seconds local time. So 2 seconds after the Google search had allegedly been made. And then the second record is 5 seconds after that at 2:27, 47 seconds. Both those URLs relate to a website of hock'emmocksports.com.
Oh, interesting. So we can see what else she was doing when she was at 34 Fairview. So, oh God, I don't have my glasses on. Is this like 12:42 a.m.? 12:42 a.m. She would have been like sort of texting John O'Keefe, been at 34 Fairview, asking him like, "Are you coming in? Like, what's going on? Hello, hello." But she's googling on her phone, Hockomock standings, Hockomock standings, Hockomock shit, Hockomock shit. 2 a.m. more Hockomock stuff. 2 a.m. more Hockomock stuff. 2 a.m. the scoreboard, schedule, all that stuff.
Okay. If you could explain to the jury, what is a contiguous identifier?
So again, every SQLite database will assign a unique contiguous identifier number. So again, the very first record created will be given a record ID of 1, the second record will be 2, and so on and so forth. Those numbers are never reused. So if I was to delete record 3, that record number will never be reused, and I can see that there's a gap and deleted data in that database.
You use another term in there as far as the SQLite database.
Are we looking at this number right here? The 31458? He's saying that there's no gaps, meaning no deletions.
Would explain to the jury what your understanding of that term is based on your training.
Yeah, a SQLite database, essentially, it's a series of tables.
Hi, Nicole. How's it going? Cute little profile picture. Wait, did you change your profile picture, or has it always been that? I have the chat very enlarged today, so I can see your guys' profile picture more clearly.
A way for data to be stored, again, in a meaningful, organized fashion that can be queried, can be examined, can be filtered, searched, etc. It can be useful for anybody who wants to get data from an organized file.
Now, with reference to the searches that you observed within this particular web history, what, if any, relationship to the contiguous identifiers sort of range? What, if anything, is that?
I'm sorry, can you rephrase that?
What, if any, observations did you make as far as those contiguous identifiers in the range they had in relation to the web history that you observed?
Okay, so within the history.db file, there were no missing numbers from the beginning of January, essentially, until early February. That told me as an examiner that no records had been deleted during that time.
Approach again, Your Honor.
Yes.
Almost. We have no objection. Okay. And if you could explain to the jury what we're looking at in this exhibit, what any information you're able to sort of...
Yes, and this is what we saw. And then it was like deleted. Yes, and it was like, oh, what happened here?
Clean as a forensic examiner with relation.
Okay, so this is a searched item exhibit. It's
Wait, Nicole's on an island right now? Wait, Nicole, you're on vacation?
technically a derivative of a different exhibit that we find on the device. So we found what we consider a web history record. So a web history record would just mean we have a URL that was visited and potentially a timestamp and a title. Searched items looks at all of the web history items that we found and tries to identify were these actually searches that were conducted. So for example, if you were to do a search on Google, you'd see that the website that you're taken to is google.com query, then it contains the query string that you've typed in. We extract that information, we extract that query and provide it to the user as a searched item. In this case, I can see that it came from the browserstate.db WAL file. The search query itself was hostlong to dying cold, and it shows as a deleted record.
Now, with respect, I think you used a couple of different terms within that as far as a knowledge C database. Can you explain to the jury what that is?
I don't recall saying knowledge C, but I can explain what knowledge C is in this case. Yes, the knowledge C database is at the heart of iOS. It stores lots of information about the activity on the device at any given time. Things like when the backlight's turned on, when the device is unlocked, what application is in focus at the time and how long it's in focus for. And important to this case, which website's on screen at any given time as well.
When you say when a website is in focus, can you expound upon that as far as what exactly do you mean by when you say in focus?
So in terms of iOS itself, when it's in focus, it would be the primary item that's visible on screen. So with iOS, you can have applications in the background that you aren't using, but the one that you are currently using is considered in focus, taking up the entire screen.
I believe you have used the term as far as a browser state DB. Is that correct?
Correct.
And can you explain to the jury what your understanding of that term is and how it relates?
Browser state.
If I remember correctly, the other witness, the expert witness who testified about Jen's search history, she mentioned that it has happened before where she's seen some people in her field misinterpret the data as, oh, this is something that's been deleted. I wonder how many of those people testified in other cases and said, yeah, that was a deletion, when in fact it really wasn't a deletion. I don't know. That's a little bit scary. Hilton Head Island. How long are you there for? Sounds fun. Is it beach resort?
DB is just the name of the database, the name that Apple gave it. It's gone through some changes over the last few years. For example, in iOS 14, it did store the state of the tabs that were open within a browser. In iOS 15, there was a significant change, and the only time that records were written to the database is when the tab was closed. So a significant difference in that it doesn't show you what's currently open, it only shows you what's previously been closed.
Now, this search here, what, if anything, did you observe as far as this record in relation to the history DB related to the search?
This record is not mentioned at all within the history.db database.
And what, if any, missing records from this time frame did you observe either?
There were no missing records in the history.db database. Within this time frame, within the browser state database, there were 3 deleted records.
When you say deleted records as far as your self-rights tool is concerned, what exactly does deleted mean?
These are records that have been deleted, not necessarily by the user, potentially by the system, but they are considered deleted records that we're able to recover.
What are some of the ways that something might be deleted by the system, and which, are you talking about the phone or are you talking about your tool?
It's a big island in South Carolina, 45 minutes from Savannah, Georgia. It's beautiful but hot.
The phone.
Put a lot of sunblock. Be careful.
Our tool is designed as a forensic tool. It's not going to edit, delete, or affect the data in any way, just present what is in the extraction. But there are multiple times on an iOS device or an Android device where cleanup essentially happens, and we start to lose data after a certain amount of time.
Now, with respect, let me just ask this for a moment. With respect to self-right as far as the tools, have there been a variety of different versions of those tools as far as conducting that forensic extraction?
Yes. So Cellbrite Physical Analyzer has been available for approximately 12, 13 years in various versions.
And what, if any, differences are there between, in general terms, between, say, an old version versus a newer version?
Obviously, in the digital forensics landscape, whenever a provider creates a new feature, we have to change our code to adapt to what they've now introduced. There can be research that's been done, so we now learn new things, and we add support over time. So something can be supported in this new version of Physical Analyzer that may not have been supported or even existed in a previous version.
Now, with respect to your work in this field, what, if any, tools have you designed or created or something to conduct this type of work?
Aside from Physical Analyzer?
Yes.
Okay, so I have my own tool called Artex, which I've been working on for around 5 years. Since it is
Oh, I was about to say, how far are you away from Becky Hill? How
simply
far is
examining
Colin
myself and
County?
struggling to pass any particular application that I needed. So I started to write my own tools, and that's the one that is one that I still maintain on the side in my own time, partly for my own knowledge, but partly because I think it still introduces some fantastic features which aren't available in any other tool for research purposes. So yeah, I continue to write this tool to this day.
And could you just say the name of the tool?
Artex. A-R-T-E-X.
Now, with regard to the situation depicted in the exhibit up on the screen, what are some of the reasons why this may occur, or why this may read as it does?
Sorry, is it deleted?
Yes.
Oh, the record itself has been deleted. As I said, the reason why it's deleted, through my testing, I've only found 2 ways that kind of record can be deleted by the user.
I don't know, man. I think even if you took Proctor out of this whole equation, a lot of shaky witnesses.
I don't believe either of those ways was actually utilized on this device.
I think the people that were closest to John, like Carrie, his family members, were good. The paramedics initially thought it was good, but then we ended up finding out that some of the statements there was some confusion with the I hit him statements. I had issues with people not taking notes. I don't know, that same day. Sometimes notes were taken like days later, weeks later, depending on who you were, or notes weren't taken at all. I had issues with that too. I don't know, a lot of shaky witnesses. And then we'll have like experts go up there and testify, do decently, like okay on direct, but then in cross-examination, just not really give confident answers. I don't know. I think even if you took out Proctor, Even if you took out Proctor. Sure, but there were so many who testified they heard her admit she hit him. I was waiting to hear from Carrie Roberts, because Carrie Roberts would have been there. But Carrie Roberts, from what I remember from her testimony, she said, "Did I hit him? Did I hit him?" or something like that. But I don't know. Yeah, I really wish there were just like notes taken, or I don't know. There's just like a lot of like misses, and I know it's hard to. It's easier for us in retrospect to point out things that like someone did wrong, but in this case, it was just so many different people that it's just rough. You said, I don't think people wanting to turn on Karen at the time, but when she started blaming so many others, they realized what she was doing. Yeah, I wonder if initially, because of their animosity towards Karen Reed. Well, actually, no, because I thought maybe Jen McCabe misremembered and then changed her story from "did I hit him" to "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him." But if I remember correctly, she did tell one of the detectives, I think a couple hours after that, that's what she heard from Karen Reed, the "I hit him" thing. But I don't think that was ever like written in a report anywhere. But it would make sense if they heard all that from Jen McCabe. That's why they focus on Karen Reed and the car theory, getting hit and all that stuff, and then really focus their investigation on that instead of looking at, other avenues. I don't know. I just feel like even if you take out Proctor, it's still a mess.
What are those two ways?
The user has the option to selectively delete history items. So you can delete either one at a time, or the entire day's content, or the last 2 days' content, or you can delete all content altogether. If all content had been deleted, we wouldn't have found any information on this phone at all related to web history, so I was able to discount that one quite quickly.
But I was also thinking that maybe the paramedics, the scene was just the chaos, that they're just purely just focusing on trying to save John's life, that it could have gotten mixed up when they heard, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
And I guess alluding to what you just said, why is it that you don't believe that either of those two methods of user deletion occurred in this context?
Objection may be reported, please.
I'm sorry?
I said objection may be reported.
Okay.
Yeah, I always said that I found Jen to be, when she was in direct examination, I found her to be credible. But then when it got into the search, the butt dials and all that stuff, that's where I was like, ooh, okay, there's some really weird shit going on here. And the state, if they don't have a witness explain some of this weird shit, then it's going to be hard to believe what Jen says. Oh my God, I know. We worship Creighton. Creighton. Miss Morrissey. Miss, who's that other lady? I always fuck up her name. The one in the, Charlie Edelson case. Georgia Kappelman?
Sure.
Good golly.
I do, yes.
So what do you recognize that?
It's a document that highlights both the search terms that were found in mobilesafari.plist and the method of searching.
Yes.
I'm off 6 minutes. No objection.
Okay.
But this is huge for the jury right now, because the jury has to determine, okay, did Jen McCabe search how long is it to die in the snow at 2 whatever a.m., or was it done at the 6 whatever a.m., as told by Karen Reed, and did Karen Reed lie about it? So that's what the jury is really trying to figure out here.
May I return for the of course, this may be published to the jury.
Okay.
Like, who's the liar?
Ms. Whitman, do you recognize what's up on the screen as the next exhibit?
I do, yes.
You did do the term in there, I believe, called a P list. Is that correct?
Correct.
Can you explain to the jury what you understand that term to mean and how it relates to what you're about to talk about?
Yeah, so a P list or a property list is Apple's way of storing serialized data. That essentially means a list of data with names and values.
And sir, if you could...
Why did she Google Boston Police Department and John O'Keefe? Oh, that was after 1:30 at 8 p.m. Okay, so she probably just wanted to see what was going on in the news reported with John O'Keefe.
And using that later point, direct jury's attention to explain sort of what we're looking at and what anything is significant in terms of this particular slide.
Yeah, detective
Yeah,
news.
so again, this is a table I created from the data within the mobilesafari.p list. The term shown down the left is what...
Yeah, this is the second expert witness who's, he's a Cellbrite person.
the user would have typed in to the search bar. Sorry, I keep blinding somebody. The search bar in the bottom of the Safari browser window. The UTC time is the time which is actually recorded within the plist. It's recorded as a string, so just text as it's presented on the screen there. And then I converted that and subtracted 5 hours to bring it into local time around Campton.
Now, aside from this just for a moment, with regard to, familiar with what's termed as a private browsing mode?
Yes.
And can you explain to the jury what that is and how it relates to this?
Yeah, so private browsing mode is a setting you can set on iOS devices, or primarily most devices, that prevents any of your browsing activity being recorded. So it won't save the searches, it won't save the navigations, it protects everything so that it can't be found later on.
And what, if any, relation did that have to what your analysis of the extraction in this case?
If these searches had been conducted while in private browsing mode, these searches would not exist within this file.
Okay, I was like, wait a second. Can they pull up private browser searches?
So is it your opinion that they were not conducted in any kind of private browsing mode?
Correct.
Now, are you also familiar with the term as far as failure to load?
Yes.
Can you explain that to the jury and how that applies to this?
Yeah, so obviously whenever you try to visit a web page, there's a stream of information coming from the web to the device, which then renders onto the screen. At the completion of the load event, there's a function effectively which runs, and that records the visit
I thought Jackson did pretty good in the cross-examination of the previous witness, though.
to the history database. If for some reason the page doesn't load and it shows up with an unable to load message, so for example you don't have an internet connection at all, that unable to load will be recorded. If, however, the device stalls and it just sits kind of waiting to load, nothing gets written to the history database. And if you were to close the browsing window prior to the page completing its load event, nothing will be written to history.
Would that be written somewhere else within the phone as far as any other storage areas?
Technically, the only place I found would be the browser state.
Now, with regard to the plist files, does this file save all sort of history items or not?
Primarily, it's used to save preferences. So you'd have a lot of information in there if it's using light mode or dark mode, or when you want tabs to auto-clear, that kind of information. But it also...
Taxi says, if she had hit him, why would she alert everyone to that very possibility? I don't know. Maybe it looks less shady to, instead of finding him on her own or having someone else find him on the lawn of another Boston police officer, maybe she thought it looked better to come across his body with a crew of other people. So it's like, oh, we all stumbled upon his body all at the same time. I don't know. I don't fucking know. I don't know.
Records several days' history of searches. The actual number of days searches, I actually don't know.
And what, if any, relationship does that have with regard to the search bar that's located on the bottom of this table?
In order for the search item to be saved to the mobile Safari plist, you need to actually type into this particular search bar. If you were to just visit google.com and start typing into the Google search bar, it will not be recorded within the mobile Safari.plist.
And so what, if anything, were you able to determine about those two searches with regards to what you observed?
So these particular two searches were conducted at 623.51 and 624.18 respectively. They were searched using the search bar that's built into Safari. The fact that they didn't exist within HistoryDB and that there were no deleted records from history.db leads me to believe that they never successfully loaded.
May I approach again, Your Honor?
Yes.
The items from the history.db, I believe.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
So the mobile Safari plist.
May I return to the witness?
Yes.
The plist, so the mobile Safari plist, and the search terms found within the history.db database.
So the items contained within this table are items that were contained within the extraction that you examined, correct?
Correct.
And Your Honor, the court's submission, if I could
Hello, Rain. How's it going?
display that for the jury.
Yes. Yes.
Just to describe to the jury what we're looking at in this table and what, if anything, is significant between sort of the two sources of information.
Okay, so the first list, the plist term, shows the term...
The prosecution witnesses refer to Lolly as their personal attorney? Wait, what do you mean by that? Brian Albert Jr. for sure. Seems like there was another one too. Wait, sorry, what do you mean by that? Refer to Lolly as their personal attorney?
within the mobile Safari.plist, excluding the two that we've already mentioned, which are of note. And the first timestamp column shows the timestamp according to that plist. The history item shows the search term as recorded in the history database. And then we have the timestamp as per the history database. So the purpose of this document was to show that we have a search for Raining Men and a history item related to the Google search for raining men, and they show within a second of each other. Again, the next one down, Antoinette Ock and basketball, and the associated Google search. And again, the timestamps are within a second. This list was non-exhaustive. There was hundreds of examples within the history.db, but limited examples within the mobile Safari plist. And as I mentioned, the two searches of interest, the how long to die in Kikti and how long to die in the cold, didn't exist within the history.db at all.
Ms. Gilman, you can take that. Howard.
If OS 14, the browser state database would show all tabs that you currently had opened. So as soon as I go into my browser and open a new tab, a record is created. It includes information such as the time that I opened the tab or the time I last viewed the tab, the current URL which is being displayed within that tab. It shows information whether it's in private browsing mode or not. So in that kind of case, in iOS 14 and below, we're able to see current private browsing records and subsequently recover deleted ones. But in iOS 15, things changed. The record was no longer written as soon as the tab was opened. It was only opened when the tab was closed. Sorry, the record was only created when the tab was closed. That meant that our ability to recover that kind of history was significantly lower. It means that it no longer makes use of the private browsing field, because now private browsing records simply are never written to that database. So now we can only really see a list of all of the tabs that have been closed, not which are currently open.
Now, with regard to the browser state DB, is there something referred to as a last view timestamp?
There is, yes. That's one of the fields within the database.
And can you explain specifically with relation to that field, sort of what kind of information is kept there and what it means?
Yeah, so from my research based on this, that's...
Oh, guys, any crazy true crime stuff happen over the weekend? I've been busy in the garden and doing shit, so... I've not caught up with any true crime stuff, so I don't know if any new stuff popped up, but I think Corey Richards' preliminary, was that on Friday, or is that happening this week? Yeah, catch up.
Timestamp relates to the time that the tab took focus. So that's either when the user creates the brand new tab, when they switch between tabs and bring a tab back into focus, when they close a tab, which automatically brings one of the background tabs into focus, or if Safari has been completely closed and reopened, that essentially acts like almost a new tab, and the timestamp gets updated at that point.
Can you explain how an earlier timestamp could be associated from, say, tab is open, something is done, tab is closed, tab is reopened, something else is done? How that earlier...
I don't think Mr. Lawley can be any of their personal attorneys. No, I didn't catch any of that. Georgia Captain would probably never have taken this case after taking only a superficial glance at the local investigators. I'll use the bathroom real quick. Hold on a second, guys. Oh, wait, I didn't tell you guys about this weird dream that I had. When does Tim Ferritter's wife go to trial? You know what? I saw her stuff pop up recently. I'm not quite sure. But now that we already know the outcome of Tim Ferritter's sentencing, I mean, I'm not really too excited about Tracy. What did he get again? 5 years, and then some of it's probation? I don't remember. I remember it was like nothing. Ugh. But I had this weird dream a couple days ago that... It was so weird. So you know the case that I covered, Rebecca Hill, the woman who hit and ran 2 little boys, Mark and Jacob Iskander. So she had her sentencing last week. And so I dreamt that she was trying to escape her sentencing and she was going to the airport. So I was with Jackson and Yannetti and we were trying to track her down. It's such a weird dream. And then me and Yannetti were detectives. and we're trying to figure out where she was, and I was like his assistant detective. I don't. It's such a weird dream. I don't know. I rarely dream about my true crime stuff. Like rarely ever. So weird. Anyways, yeah. So I woke up and I was like, huh, that's an interesting dream. Thank God my partner wasn't Lolly. Anyways, so. Oh, being near the anniversary of the Murdoch murders, there was a lot of buzz recapping the case. Okay, this weekend. Poor Maggie and Paul. What, if any, weird dreams did you have? All I know is there was less than a minimum, and it was like utter. Yes, it was less than a minimum, right? Yeah. The judge was like, I don't know. I think the judge really liked that he had that Tim Ferritta had military background or something like that. So he's like, oh, I can see how you could have been strict in your household and how that could have been hard on your kids and how they could have responded a certain way, and that's why you did X, Y. I'm like, oh my God, you're justifying his fucking actions. Ugh. Blech. Oh, sorry, did I say Rebecca Hill? No, her name is Rebecca. Not Rebecca Hill. Sorry, I always get Becky Hill and her name mixed up. What's her name again? Escaping my mind. Rebecca. Shit, I forgot her last name. Sorry, it's escaping my mind right now because now Rebecca Hill is stuck in my head. Damn it! I feel like it's been a year. Oh yes. Dude. Oh, you're talking about Alex. I was thinking about Alec Baldwin's trial is coming up next month. And apparently, the DA wants Hannah Reid to testify. So, they're going to give her immunity. I would like to hear from Hannah Reid. Maybe she can redeem herself after all the horrible police interviews that she's given. Yes, Rebecca Grossman. Thank you. Because now Rebecca Hill is stuck in my head.
Timestamp could then be associated data-wise with the subsequent search.
I think
Opening of
I think I followed that. Okay, so if, for example, at 12 p.m. I create a new tab, I can do a search for whatever I want, and at that point, if I close the tab, then the record that gets created will show that I opened a tab at 12 p.m. and I did a search. Excuse me. However, if I open the same tab at 12 p.m., do a search, close it, like completely close down Safari and reopen Safari, that would also update at the same timestamp to show that I'd opened it up again. What I meant to say at that point is that if I create at 12 o'clock.
Hi, Wayne. How are you doing today? Also, on my iPad, on my iPhone, I have 1 million tabs up. And in order... It's annoying because you can't do close all. You have to go through each one and swipe. It's so annoying. Ay. So now I need to know, is it better for me to close my tabs out? Is it going to fuck my search shit?
Tab. Minimize Safari. I can leave it for several hours, for several days, for several weeks. The time difference is...
That's me right there. I'd be leaving it for several years.
Not really important. When I come back to it and open up Safari again from a background state, the timestamp is not updated. So it will still show 12 p.m. today,
so
and it will show whatever my most recent navigational event is. So I can search for something in 3 weeks' time using the same tab I opened today, and the timestamp will show today's time.
Right. I think this is a good place to take our break. Yes. Mr. Whitmore, of course, ask you to stay with us, okay, as the jury's file.
618.
Yes.
And if you could again use the laser pointer, direct the jury's attention to what are we looking at in this 618.
Okay, so the left side of the table is the entire URL that was recovered from the browser state record. What I've done is broken it down into each of its individual components and explained what each of those components means. So the very first row is google.com/search. That just tells the browser that we're going to the Google web.
Something tells you we're not going to hear from the medical examiner today, right? Are you the medical examiner or are you the same guy? Who was the guy that testified?
Website, and then we want to run a search. The second part, the Q equals, is telling the browser what the query term is. So the query term here is host long to dying cold. The little plus symbols in between is in place of a space because spaces can't be part of a URL. Next, we have the input encoding, and the output encoding just explains what kind of characters to use and what language to use when you're accepting the search query and giving it back to the user. And finally, the important part is the and client equals Safari. This is something that just tells Google that this query visits Safari was conduct on the cause the records to be recorded in the plist.
You recognize that, sir?
Oh man, cousin Eddie. I don't use Safari. I use Chrome. You can close all your Safari tabs at once on your iPhone if you. I have an iPad. And that one I just do Control T, or no, I do Control W to close all my shit. But on my Android, when I have my Chrome tabs up, I have to hit the X on each one in order to get rid of the tab. If you have an Android, if you have any tips for that, let me know. Hi, bye to Wayne. Did Wayne pop out already?
I do, yes.
And when you recognize that?
This is the live records from the browser state.db database.
May I approach on?
Yes.
I'm Walter Seaton. 690.
I do, yes.
Now, turning back to the browser DB database for this particular device, with regard to the timestamp and the last view time, what, if anything, do you observe in reference to that depicted in this and could you direct the jury's attention to?
Yeah, so this timestamp is the last view time according to the database itself. It's already been offset so that it's in local time. This particular table, we can see there are records missing.
Yeah, and thank God Jen wasn't on porn that night.
Between records 4025
I don't know if they would blur that out, if they would show it all.
and 4031, we have, sorry, 40,
How many of those tabs for online shopping? None? I don't think. None. Any online shopping is on my computer. They're all basically words, definition, a bunch of articles that I was planning on reading, a bunch of cases. Oh, wait, no, on my phone. Sorry. I'm thinking my iPad. My phone. I don't really do shopping on my iPhone, I don't think. No? Yeah. Computer, I think.
4025 and 4031, we have 4026, 27, 28, 29, and 30 missing. And typically the timestamps
Raiden's being a what now?
that we do have here, some of them are separated
Why are
by
we
as
firing
little as
shots
a
right
second or
now?
two.
Now, with reference to the how long to die in cold, that was record 408, is that correct?
That's correct.
And so based on
I was listening to the Apple Vortex, haven't been able to get it out, only Apple products here. Well, I have an iPad, which is funny. I have an iPad, I have AirPods, but I also have like the Galaxy Pods as well. I was thinking about switching back to iPhone because Androids, when you drop it, I just feel like they're not durable. I'm sorry. They're just not durable. When I've had my iPhone, I would crack my phone, but not as often as the Android. Android, I crack my phone like every fucking 6 months. And it's not even like large crack. It's like you're just like dropping it. I don't know. It's not even a big deal. I just feel like they're not as durable. And I talked to the guy that does the glass repairs for our phones. I was like, so do you see more Androids? Do you see more Apples? And he's like, definitely more Androids. And they're so expensive to repair the screen too. Oh my God. I broke my screen and it was like $200 to $300 to repair or something like that. And then I got the insurance and I was like, well, the insurance I feel like is a wash because you have to pay a deductible, which I forgot how much it was. And then each month is like $20 or some shit like that. I don't know. It's just like not even worth it. Oh God. You never break your Android? What? You ever go outside? I break my Android all the time and it's not actually, you know what? Sorry. I've broken my Android inside my phone. Okay. I dropped it on my floor and they're just hardwood floors. And it wasn't even that high. It just fucking broke. You never broke an Android? Oh my goodness. Maybe you guys are just lucky.
missing from this
My
portion of the
Android
phone
keeps
for us,
breaking.
that database, what, if anything, did you endeavor to do with respect to ascertaining what?
So first of all, the task was to try to recover the deleted messages. The deleted history records from browser state. So first of all, I was reading the deleted pages, essentially, to find the records that had been deleted
Yes, I use a case. I use a case and I have a screen protector thing.
from this current version of the page.
May I approach the interview?
Yes.
Now I don't use the OtterBox. I had an OtterBox for a little bit and I was like, no, this shit is it's too thick. Gross.
Document, sir?
I do, yes.
So what do you recognize that to be?
This is the same data source. So it's still browser state.db, but now looking at it with the unique recovered records.
And what is that last term that you use? What does that mean? I'm sorry.
So typically, and so on. What I looked at doing is recovering the data where the records that I recover are different from each other. So if I recover the same record multiple times, I can ignore it. But if I recover
Yeah, the OtterBox. No, they're too big. I don't like it. Ugly.
the same record with a slight change, then I would show it in this view.
May I approach, sir?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna hop around.
Court submission, may I publish that for the jury?
Yes.
Items highlighted
I'm
in
done
blue.
with Jen. Can we focus on?
The ones in blue are the actual Knowledge C records that show when the How Long to Die in the Cold and the How Long to Die in the KICD web pages were actually visible on screen.
And so from this, what, if anything, would you be able to
Where's cross-examination? I want cross-examination.
respect to, are you familiar with the term called spontaneous deletion?
I believe so.
And can you explain to the jury what that is?
It's not a term I would use, but essentially a cleanup operation would occur on the device where it would look for orphaned records.
Oh, that's right. The other witness, the other expert witness testified about this too, how it looks like it was deleted, but it actually was not something that was done by the user. And that.
Records that are old enough to not be required anymore, and they would just be deleted by the system without any direction from the user.
Xiaomi Redmi? What the heck is that? A Xiaomi? I've never heard of a Xiaomi Redmi. Is that something you get on Temu or something, or Alibaba? These things are built like a tank. Are they bulky and ugly though?
Now, during the testing that occurred, your testing, which occurred with respect to this device, what, if anything, did you observe with regard to spontaneous deletion?
I wasn't able to replicate the spontaneous deletion. I was able to replicate completely orphaned records. So a record that existed in browser state without a corresponding record in history.db. And it meant that there was no way for me to delete that record manually without deleting everything from the device.
Wait, have you guys ever gotten stabbed in your dream? Oh my god, that actually hurts. I don't like getting stabbed in my dreams.
Regarding history.
Painful.
May I approach, John?
Yes. Okay, could you turn the lights on, please, Tony? Thank you.
You are unmuted.
9 on.
Okay. 6:23.
The 28th of January 2021.
You want to answer this, me, Mark?
Okay.
Tell right on with regard to rectifying this issue.
Well,
I'll allow it.
we recognize that this timestamp could be misleading. Regardless of how we label that timestamp, the very fact that a timestamp is there, we feel would be or potentially misrepresented. So the decision was taken to remove the timestamp altogether from that information. So now we show the web page was visited.
Is John Popper a serial killer? Who's that? Who's John Popper? I feel like I should know who that person is. I don't know who that is, though.
We don't attribute a time to that purely because it could be wildly inaccurate.
Your Honor, this may be the appropriate time for the instruction.
Okay. All right, so jurors, we're about to see a demonstration by Mr. Whiffen. It's simply a demonstration to help you to understand the evidence that you've heard. It's not evidence from this case, but it helps you understand the evidence.
Okay. Judge is explaining.
And the feature which I continuously use this tool for, which is not available really in any other vendor tools, is the ability to create a live connection between my computer and the phone. The live connection is what I've just started here, and what's going to happen is all of the files and folders that exist on the phone will be mapped to my computer so that I can navigate it. I can look around and I can take a look at near enough live records on the device.
For Androids, I'm in the Samsung universe. I got all the Samsungs.
Prior to the availability of this tool, I would have to test a theory on a phone, do an extraction, and then pass the extraction, which could take anywhere between 20 minutes and several hours. The reason that I'm using this tool today is because I can do those same tests within 10 or 20 seconds, typically. So I just need to wait for this section to do. So it's already mapped out all the files and folders. It's now asking for a few important pieces of information, which it will then populate on the screen. So information such as the device, serial number, etc. What we're
I
interested
have my glasses on, so I can't really see the little tiny font.
in, though, is the browser state record. So I can go to the browser state database and take a look at that and open that up. And you can see that at this moment in time, I have no records in the database at all. If I go back into the live view of the phone, you can see I have Safari open from last night. So it's been sat in the background overnight and not doing anything. But at 10 past 8 last night, I performed this search in a brand new window. So started Safari, opened up a new tab, immediately searched for new tab at 2010 on the 16th of June. If I now search for the time right now, 1442, what I can do is go back to my RTX tool and press this reload button. That's going to delete the database from my computer only and copy the most recent copy of the database and WAL file from my phone back to my computer, where it shows me I still have no records. That's expected behavior because at the moment I've not closed the tab. So if this again was iOS 14, there would be a record there to say what tab I had open. But iOS 15 doesn't work that way. If I now go back to my tabs and actually just close
these updates
window, I can go back into RTX and hit reload again. And we now see we have some records. I can look at this particular record, and you'll see the title is 1442 Google search. You'll see the Google search record here. So I just need to change the time zone as well to Eastern time. So you see it's the most recent search which I conducted, the 1442 search. The last viewed time, though, still shows as 8:10 p.m. last night, because that's the time that the tab was focused, not the time that the search was conducted.
Okay.
Thanks.
Full demonstration.
Can I have a moment, John?
Yes. Giannetti?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yannetti! My detective partner. My dream.
Good afternoon, Ms. Wilson.
Good afternoon.
So you had spoken a little bit about what was your assignment here in terms of the data that was sent to you. And I believe that you testified regarding that 2:27 a.m. or 2:27 and 42nd a.m. timestamp that it didn't make sense to the investigators, correct?
Correct.
Were you told that one of the investigators was Trooper Michael Proctor?
I don't recall any names being mentioned. The ticket came to me, or the request came to me via another Cellbrite employee who'd been asked about this case and asked whether we could offer any help.
Okay, thank you. You would agree with me that when you're making or doing a simulation, you want it to be as close to an apples-to-apples comparison as you can get?
As best possible, yes.
And to get truly accurate research results, you want to eliminate as many variables as you can, correct?
Correct.
You wouldn't, for instance, want to use an Android operating system to try to replicate the activity from Jennifer McCabe's Apple iPhone, correct?
Correct.
What version of iOS did you use for your testing of Jennifer McCabe's data?
So this test has been undertaken on various different versions of iOS, from iOS 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and most recently on the beta version of 18 last week. This particular demonstration was on 15.8.2.
Okay. And you're aware, and you said 15.8.2.
Correct. I've also tested on 15.7.
Oh, fair enough. You're aware, however, that Ms. McCabe was using iOS version 15.2.1, correct?
Correct.
And you would agree that the way that an artifact is stored would depend on the iOS version that you use, correct?
Correct.
And your simulation did not use the iOS version that Ms. McCabe was running on her iPhone, correct?
Correct. I used the closest version I could find.
So I'd like to ask you some questions about the characteristics of browserstate.db-wall in record number 4028.
Okay.
That record number, I believe you testified, was found to be deleted, correct?
Correct.
And you were able to recover the date and time associated with it, correct?
The date and time of the last viewed?
Of that record number.
Yes.
And what was that date and time?
2:27 and 40 seconds a.m.
You were also able to recover the content of that particular Google search itself?
I was able to recover the URL for it, yes.
Okay, and what was that Google search?
Hostel Long to Die in the Cold.
And it's true, however, that the session history could not be recovered, correct?
That's correct.
Now, given those characteristics that you've just discussed, did your testing result in a WAL file record, WAL file record, that matched the characteristics of 4028? In other words, deleted with session history not recovered?
The issue with the session history, I was able to recover only the first page of session history. What happens is when there's a large amount of data that's split over multiple pages, if it's a live record, all those pages point to each other so that you can chain it together and get one large amount of information. Once they've been deleted, some of those pages can be overwritten, and therefore the pointers don't make sense anymore. So the amount of information in this session was way larger than one page, and I wasn't able to recover anything further.
Okay, and you'd agree that the simulation was done using a different operating system, correct?
Correct.
Were you able to recreate the other deletions that appeared before and after that record 4028?
Which deletion, sorry?
Well, you would have testified, I believe there was an exhibit that was introduced that showed that there were multiple deletions both before and after, correct?
Correct.
Were you able to recreate those deletions?
When I manually deleted records from the history, then the records also were deleted from the browser state.
Now, I believe that you testified, and if you didn't, I believe it's in your report, that there are essentially 5 mechanisms for record deletions in the browser state database, correct?
Correct.
You ruled out 4 of them pretty quickly, correct?
Correct.
And I believe you testified to that today, correct?
Correct.
The only remaining option was selective deletion by a user, or there's some internal mechanism for record deletion that is not fully understood, correct?
Correct.
All right. And you know of, as you testified today, you know of no internal mechanism for record deletion that's not fully understood.
Well, you can hire Ben and Camille for civil cases. Hey, blah, blah, what's going on? The Visigoths? I was like, what's a Visigoth? Germanic people who were only the armies that defeat the Roman legions and laid waste of Rome. I've never heard of the Visigoths before.
Correct?
Your choice of lord will always be Juan Martinez.
Being able to replicate that function, no.
All right. If there is no unknown internal mechanism for
I mean, Juan Martinez and Jackson are, I would say, pretty similar in terms of how they conduct themselves. They're loud, they yell, you can really hear them, it's easy to track what they're saying. And they like to say, do you have a memory problem?
record deletion that's not fully understood, that would leave selective deletion by a user, correct?
Not in this case, no.
All right. Well, selective deletion, you would agree, means that a user selects what to delete, correct?
Correct.
And regarding the user, the term user, what is that? Who is that?
Whoever's using the phone at the time.
Okay, so it's actually somebody who is using the actual iPhone itself.
Ask anyone Visigoth. I don't know if anyone knows what the Visigoths are. I've never heard of them before. I feel like that's a name that would like stand out.
Correct?
I know like basic Roman history.
Not necessarily a computer expert, correct?
Correct.
300 count?
Would you agree with me that somebody who had access to the data before it was
Sorry, I learned basic Roman history. I don't know if I remember any of that shit though.
extracted and sent to you could have made selective deletions of the data?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
No, I don't.
Are you aware of an app called MySQL? What is MySQL?
MySQL is just a method for viewing SQLite databases.
All right. If someone had access to the raw data, again, before it was sent to you, and used that app, they could make selective deletions of the data, couldn't they?
I assume you're talking about opening up the extraction, taking out the particular file and editing it?
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. You're right, Your Honor. I apologize. And I apologize to you. If you could restate your answer or give me your full answer.
But didn't they fight each other?
Okay, so it would be possible with the extraction to take out particular databases, alter them, and put them back into the extraction.
Weren't the Greeks fighting everyone in that area?
There's something called a hash mechanism that we have in place that would it essentially hashes the original data, and then it can be hashed again at a later date. It results in a long string of characters, and if there's any changes to the original data, then we'd see that it's been modified.
Would you agree with me that someone with access to that data and an appropriate application or program could also delete and renumber history.db and knowledge.cso so that it would appear as though there was no break in the numbering, so that it would also appear that nothing was deleted?
It's potentially possible, but would require a large amount of knowledge and skill to do
technical stuff, right? That sounds pretty technical to me.
in a way that can't be detected.
Thank you very much, sir.
Mr. Lally?
Maybe the defense will tie it to, well, Proctor did say that he's had some knowledge and experience with Cellbrite.
Any discrepancy between the iOS version and Ms. McCabe's phone and the iOS version, the demonstration that you did, what, if any, impact does that have on what you showed this jury?
So in this particular case, every iOS version I tested, as I mentioned, from 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, the timestamp is always referring to the time that the tab took focus. So even though there are some differences with when...
The Persians, I remember. I thought they had other enemies that they were fighting too. I don't know. I don't remember the movie very well. I just remember the infamous kick, and I know Cersei's in it.
The records created, the meaning
And
behind
the Persians look really fucking scary.
the timestamp has been consistent.
What you were asking about what you were asked about in regard to selective deletion, you indicated that there's no evidence of that in this case. Is that correct?
Correct. Selective deletion would require that the record existed in the history database in order to be selected to be deleted. The fact that there's no missing records indicates it was never written into that database and therefore could not have been selectively deleted.
Now, the hash mechanism that
You love the 300 movie? I haven't seen it in so long. It's been a while. Okay, so I want to move to the next witness. I don't think you're the Emmy. You don't look like Emmy. Who are you? I think Emmy was a female.
Sir.
could you please state your name and spell your last name, sir?
Yep, Nicholas Guarino, Guarino.
And
Wait, your name sounds familiar.
how are you employed, sir?
I work for the Massachusetts State Police.
I'll see.
And how long have you been a member of the Massachusetts State Police?
This is my 9th year now.
Now, prior to working with the state police, what, if any, prior experience did you have in the field of law enforcement?
I was a local police officer in Norwood for almost 11 years.
Now, with respect to your role within the state police, where is it that you work now?
I currently work at the Norfolk District Attorney's Office.
And within the detective unit, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And with respect to that, what, if any, specialized role do you have within the detective unit attached to the Norfolk DA's office?
I conduct cell phone forensics, computer forensics, and I also do sexual assault investigations.
Now, with regard to the electronic forensics, what, if any, specialized training have you received in that particular area?
Oh, is he going to go over Karen Reed's phone? Because we haven't really heard about Karen Reed's phone. We know that they have her her phone and the data from her car. Are we going to hear about her phone?
I have about 300 or so hours Cellbrite, CCO, CCPA, cell phone
Okay, he does
repair
Cellbrite
forensics.
stuff. Oh, maybe this is more Jen McCabe shit.
And the infotainment system is your radio head unit.
Okay.
That enables you to have Apple Play, CarPlay, or Android or Google Play for the vehicle.
And at some point, were you made aware of a search warrant that was authored in regard to seizing the infotainment system from Ms. Reed's vehicle?
Yes, sir.
Oh, with infotainment. Okay. I'm
And just
like,
so the record is clear, can you describe Ms. Reed's vehicle as far as what type of vehicle we're talking about?
Yes, it's a Lexus LX 570 SUV.
And specifically on February 2nd, 2022, did you have occasion to remove that infotainment system from the vehicle pursuant to that search?
Yes, I did.
And once that item was removed from the defendant's vehicle, what, if anything, did you do with it?
After we removed it from the vehicle, it was brought back to Norfolk DA's office for data extraction, or attempt to.
And that data extraction, if you know, based on your training experience, sort of how was that conducted, or to this?
And call them, see if they had a timeline of when this might be supported so we could get the data. We deemed chip-off last support, as a last resort because it is a destructive process. So once those memory chips are taken off, the likelihood of trying to reattach them and get it to work again is very slim.
Let me stop you there for a second. When you talk about an item being supported, what does that mean?
Whether or not Burla has the ability to pull the data from that vehicle.
And how is that sort of determined, or how are you able to ascertain whether or not a particular vehicle, make, model, manufacturer is supported by the Burley class?
You would, as time goes on. Defendant had is not still supported. There is Toyota and Lexus support now, but it's not, unfortunately, for her model. And they're constantly updating it, so they are able to do more vehicles as time goes on.
Now, at this particular time, as you sit here today, June 17, 2024, the vehicle defendant was operating on January 29, 2022. Is that vehicle available or supported by Burley at this time?
The trim level that the defendant had is not still supported. There is Toyota and Lexus support now, but it's not, unfortunately, for her model.
Too old.
Now, you mentioned that you had reached out to Burley Company for updates as far as the availability or when the defendant's vehicle might be supported. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And about how many times and over what time period are we talking about that you reached out to ascertain?
Immediately when I did the extraction, I should say extraction, but when I took the system out of the vehicle, I had to reach out to Burla because where it wasn't supported, they actually had to send me tech diagrams so I could go in and, again, not destroy the whole vehicle as I...
Here, just periodically ask me Roman history stuff. I'll see if I can answer it. But it has to be at an elementary level, okay?
Just took those components out. Over the
I think we stopped doing Roman history in 6th grade. Yeah? No, but I took an art history course, though. Does that count?
God, almost 2 years, year and a half of going back and forth with them, with their support and their sales team.
And when you say going back and forth, how often were you getting response in regards to the birth?
Usually every few months, I want to say every 3 months, give or take. I forget the exact number, but phone calls or an email to them asking.
Now, beyond that, are you familiar with a National Cybercrime Conference?
Yes.
And do you attend that on a note?
So Burla has a booth at the National...
The support to download the information from?
No, unfortunately.
Now,
but Burla released a new item similar to a mechanic scan tool. It plugs into the OBD2 port, which is underneath the dash. So if basically if a mechanic went in there with a scan tool to tell you why you have a check engine light, this does something similar. So you plug it in, and then it pulls the car diagnostic data from that.
And as far as the data that you receive from that, what, if anything, did you observe?
Again, I got a series of 14s was the numbers. It was no readable data. I reached out to Burla and asked them, I said, is there a reason why I pulled this data, but when I put it into the software, it's not telling me anything. It's not giving me any readable data. And they said they know it is diagnostic data, but they haven't got anything from Lexus to say, these 14s, these codes mean this. Oh, they only know it as emissions.
So was Burla itself able to read that information, transform that sort of binary code into any sort of readable data for you?
Other than the number 14, no.
Now,
is that why he's saying attempted extraction? Oh, Jesus. And I get a lot of information.
from there, what, if anything, did you do with regard to the Berlin defendant's vehicle?
Was placed back into our digital...
Oh, God. I also smashed my ankle bone onto this fucking marble. I don't know what the fuck it's made out of. It was so heavy. Oh, my God. It hurt so much. The bug bites. The marble. Bone pain.
Evidence lab. And then we did eventually do a chip off to the device.
Now, with respect to the chip-off, that was done sometime in December of 2023, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And again, if you could expound upon a little as far as, can you describe for the jury sort of the chip-off process, why you were reluctant to do it, and what's entailed in it?
As I said before, it is a destructive process. As soon as we do it, we take those memory chips off. It's applying extreme amounts of heat to the motherboards to take the memory off. That'll heat it. You lose a lot of the soldering and capacitors, anything that's on that motherboard. So, like I said, once the memory chips are taken off, it's going to destroy the board.
And as far as that chip-off process, who, if anyone, was present with you, or who, if anyone, assisted you in removing that?
Was Proctor with you?
Or conducting that chip-off process with regard to the motherboard from the entertainment system from the defense vehicle?
I'm sorry, at the time that we actually did the chip-off?
Yes.
Yeah. It was myself, AG Speak, and Maggie Gaffney.
And who is AG Speak?
AG Speak is, has his own forensic company, I guess you could call it, for Burlek. I could consider an expert in the field, former California Highway Patrol officer that exclusively handled stolen cars.
And who is Ms. Gaffney?
She was a defenses expert. She's the one who actually did the chip off, applying the heat and taking the chips off in our presence. And she, I believe, works for, I'm sorry, the name of the company station at the moment.
Now, with respect to the information that you, Ms. Gaffney, and Mr. Speak were able to remove pursuant to that chip-off process, what, if any, usable information were you able to glean from that?
As I was told by AG, there was no data that was recovered off the infotainment system or the telematics module from the chip-off.
And as far as Ms. Gaffney, did you have any conversation with her as far as the information that she was able to glean or read or decipher?
No, once she did the chip-off, I have not spoken with her since.
Have a moment, John?
Yes.
For early February 2020. Were you provided with some a laptop and/or desktop computers from the home of Mr. O'Keefe?
Yes, I was.
All right, so they weren't able to get anything from the call.
What, if anything, did you do with those?
One was a Dell laptop, the other was a
Or
HP
the infotainment system.
all-in-one desktop. I removed the hard drives from both systems and used.
Objection, do you see any?
Oh, I started Ted Lasso, by the way. Did someone in my chat recommend me Ted Lasso? One of my friends did, but I wasn't sure if chat also recommended me Ted Lasso as well.
They were.
What, if anything, did you do with respect to those?
As I said, I took the hard drives out of both machines. They were imaged, and the images were loaded into Axiom to view the data that was on them.
Now, when you say something was imaged, can you explain to the jury what you mean by that?
It's a bit-for-bit copy of the hard drive. Instead of us turning it on and going through it, which would change data, by taking the hard drives out and imaging them, it creates a one-for-one copy, so that way we can view it without changing anything in the system.
And you mentioned a tool called Axiom, is that correct?
Yes.
And can you explain to the jury sort of what is that Axiom tool and how does it work?
Yeah, it's another forensic tool that we use. Can do cell phones, computers. You'll use it to load the images so we can view the data.
And with respect to the imaging that was done with regard to the Dell laptop and the desktop, what, if anything, was it that you were looking for specifically on those devices?
We were looking for a Ring video to see if either computer was used by Officer O'Keefe as a login machine to handle the account.
And from your review of what was extracted or imaged from each of those two respective computers, what, if any, information were you able to glean in reference to Ring.com or anything else?
Neither computer was used. One appeared to be used mostly by the kids, and the other, I believe, was a laptop, was used mostly by O'Keefe, but there were no Ring logins.
As far as the Ring connection, what, if any, devices were you, throughout the course of the investigation, were you able to ascertain were actually connected to the Ring cameras and Mr. O'Keefe's phones?
Officer O'Keefe's cell phone.
Now, if there were any other devices, whether they were Mr.
Wait, what? So what is the state's theory then? Weren't they trying to allude that, oh, maybe Karen Reed got into Ring and then tried to delete shit? But how could she have done that if it was only accessible by his cell phone? And it seems like his cell phone was with him the entire time. Unless they're going to do an extraction of his cell phone and be like, oh, actually, after the point of impact, his cell phone magically traveled from 34 Fairview to 1 Meadows, and then there's this whole loop around, and then back to I'm so confused. Because I was thinking that, like, okay, well, if the state is trying to say that Karen Reed had access to the Ring shit and deleted stuff, then maybe she did it through the laptop. Maybe she had access to it. I'm confused.
O'Keefe's or someone else ascertained from either the Ring footage or the information provided by Ring, whether or not there were any other devices beyond Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone that would link to that account?
Not that I know of.
And I'm sorry, just not that there weren't any devices, or not that you could tell?
Not that I could tell, or that I ever heard of.
Now
I'm confused. I thought that's what the state was trying to say. Weren't they putting emphasis on that? And then the defense was trying to say, well, Proctor was the one who received all the data from Ring, and he could have been the one that deleted it. I'm so confused. Is anyone else in chat confused? Or am I just missing something important?
Super Green, let me ask you some questions, just in general, about cell phone extraction. You familiar with that term?
Yes.
And can you explain to the jury sort of what is involved in that, and how cell phone extraction is performed as far as your experience with regard to investigations that you've been involved in?
Yeah. So most investigations, we get the cell phones from the scene, from a suspect, from a victim. They're put into airplane mode to preserve the data, so that way a remote wipe can't be sent to the phone.
Because the previous witness was trying to explain, well, how was it that John O'Keefe was hit and his shoe was knocked off, but then his cell phone and the glass was found around his body?
From iTunes.
And he was like mentioning the whole like quarter turn thing, and maybe like, you know, like he was still holding onto the cup, and maybe it was like hooked on, maybe it was like caught onto his clothes. I don't know. He was giving like a bunch of different answers. I'm so confused. Because based off that guy's testimony, it seems like they believe that John had his phone with him the entire time, and that's why it was found near his body. You're confused too, Mauve? Holy shit. I'm so confused. Christine says, I am confused dealing with the evidence. If we are confused, so is the jury. What the
If we can't put it into airplane mode, we'll put it into a Faraday bag, which blocks the cell phone signal. And then it's brought back to the lab and put into a Faraday box, which is has electrical outlets inside of it. So that way we can...
I know what a Faraday box is. That's the thing that they didn't put Maggie's phone in when they found her phone by the roadside. The Faraday box thing. Because I think Griffin made such a huge deal about that.
The phone charged.
And with regard to this investigation, involved in the extraction of data or the examination of extracted data from any particular phone?
Yes, it did. John O'Keefe's phone, Karen Reed's phone, and we had 2 witnesses' phones, but I don't remember doing the extractions themselves.
As far as the data from those phones, have you had a look at that data? Specifically, I'm asking you about both Jennifer McCabe's phone and Ms. Carrie Roberts' phone.
Yes, I have.
I'm so glad my camera's working. You guys can just see the confusion on my face and the frustration. I'm getting so many wrinkles from this case. Maybe I need to get some Botox after this. Oh my lord. Oh gosh. Like, I'm too scared. I don't know. I don't trust the Botox thing. Oh, have you guys had done Botox? My friends have done Botox for the TMJ shit, but I don't know. I'm scared. Yeah, it keeps the phone from being able to be hacked. The jury must be thinking, what the fuck is this? Where are we? Why are we even here? Should be the state of confusion versus Karen Reed. You funny, Nicole. This case is in a constant state of confusion. What the hell? Every time when I think there's clarification, I'm like, okay, this witness is clarifying. Oh, just kidding. Never mind. We are confused as heck. Now what? Now what? What now?
Now, were you also at some point provided with some material from Brian Higgins' phone?
Yes, I saw screenshots of text messages.
And from the material that you were provided with reference to...
Okay, there were screenshots. Because remember, Brian Higgins went to the FBI booth or whatever the hell it was, and then it extracted stuff from his phone. But then when it was presented in court, there were screenshots. And I was like, why are we looking at screenshots? Where's the data?
Mr. Higgins' phone, were you then able to cross-reference that eventually at some point with respect to the information in both Ms. Reed's phone and Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
What you reviewed was the information contained within the material provided by Mr. Higgins. Was that consistent with what you observed in Ms. Reed's phone as well?
Yes, I didn't see any differences in those messages.
Now, with respect to, starting with Ms. Reed's phone, that was received by you on January 29, 2022. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And do you recall about what time it was and where you were when you received that phone?
I want to say
I'm just going to get a lot of wrinkles up here, okay, from this case, because I'm doing a lot of this. I already have smile and like laugh lines that should be turning into wrinkles, which I don't mind. But this right here, I don't know about this. From doing this too much from this case.
say 6 or 7 o'clock at night at the Norfolk DA's office.
And who did you receive that phone from?
Trooper Proctor.
And with reference to that phone, what condition was it in at the time as far as you referenced airplane mode, Faraday bag, things of that nature? How was it sort of when you received it?
I believe it was in airplane mode. The phone was in good working order, and it was placed downstairs in our lab to plugged in to keep the phone battery.
Should I just meditate midstream? Should I do that right now? I might need to. We might need to start incorporating that in this trial.
Charged.
Now, same with respect to Mr. O'Keefe's phone, when and from whom did you receive that, and what kind of condition was that in when you received it?
I also got that from Trooper Proctor at the same time as Miss Reed's phone. Same condition.
Now, with respect to the defendant's phone, at the time that you received it, did you have any passcode or any way to get into the phone?
I'm sorry, whose phone?
Ms. Reed's phone.
Oh, no. The software we use to try to bypass passwords to be able to extract the evidence, I should say the extraction of the data to look for evidence, with her phone at that time was not supported.
Now, what, if anything, did you do with her phone in regard to that?
Again, made sure it was in airplane mode and just kept it plugged in until such time as the phone was supported, and then we could download it.
Familiar with a device called Reiki?
Yes.
And can you...
Wrinkles has something to do with about being authentic. Botox is about being fake. I don't know if I agree with that. It just basically just numbs your muscles so you don't wrinkle as much when you're doing like facial expression. I guess that's what you mean, maybe? Maybe the facial expressions aren't as authentic, possibly. For me, it's just more like needles to the face. No thanks. That sounds fucking scary. I don't mind needles. Like, I'm one of those people, when I get a blood draw, I can just stare at the needle slowly going to my vein and sucking all the blood out, okay? But needles to the face, I don't like pain, okay? Like, for me, I would love to get tattoos, but I don't like pain. Needles like that, like... No, thank you. Remember, jury, yes, they can't talk to anyone, so they must be like pounding their face into the wall. I would be too.
Explain to the jury what that is and what, if anything, you did with regard to the defendant's phone and the Great Key phone.
Yep. So Great Key is, again, specialized hardware and software used to plug in the phones, can do Apple or Android phones to bypass passwords.
And how does that sort of function, or how does that work as far as when you put something, a cell phone or a cellular device, to a Great Key tool? What is it doing and how does it work?
If I knew that, I'd be a millionaire. But it basically installs software onto it, and instead of when you put in 10 passcodes to an iPhone, on the 10th one, if it's wrong, it kills the phone forever. This has some secret software that's able to bypass that and basically keep hitting the phone with passcodes until it finds the right one.
But essentially runs a bunch of different combinations of passcodes into the phone until it comes up with one that actually opens.
Yes, that's correct.
And at some point, did the Gray Key device actually break into the defense?
Yes, it did.
You know about when that was in relation to when you received it?
Yeah, so we got the phone in January. It took, I believe support came out in, I want to say May or June, I don't remember the exact month, but we didn't actually get the passcode until August 16th of 2022.
And once that passcode was actually broken into by the Gray Key device, then you're able to look into the phone, is that correct?
Yes, once the passcode's obtained, we download the data, and then we're able to take that extraction data and then open it up in Cellbrite or Axiom or whatever tool we're going to use to view it.
And the tools, as far as you're referring to, Cellbrite and Axiom, are you familiar with those tools through your course of your report?
Yeah, because this trial started. Christine, how long has it been now? Was it the end of April or beginning of May? Oh, God.
Investigator with regard to electronic devices.
Yes.
And if you could explain to the jury sort of when you say Cellbrite and Axiom, as far as
Oh my God, no. Tattoo with eyeliner. No, that sounds scary. No. Ugh. I used to do microblading on my eyebrows, but they give you numbing cream to help with the pain. I don't know if I want to go back though, because it seems like they create scar tissue, so when you come back and do more, because of the scar tissue buildup, it doesn't retain the ink as much, and sometimes you can get like raised bumps. I don't know what to do. Oh, yeah.
and tools are concerned. How do they work, and sort of what is it that you do with the device with reference to self-license?
So what do we do with the...
There must be something good about Botox and millions are still doing it. I mean, Botox has been around for a long time, but I don't know. When it comes to plastic surgery stuff, it's a little bit iffy because you know how people get like lip fillers? People are doing lip fillers and it's like, oh, this is a new trendy thing. People are doing it. But then like a lot of people are dissolving their lip fillers because it's found that your fillers, sometimes it doesn't naturally dissolve within your body. Sometimes it travels around your body and then it like leaves like these like lumpy like facial textures. I don't know. It's like so weird. Same thing with like BBLs. When people do BBLs, a lot of people were doing it because of the Kardashians, but then now people are like, oh, BBLs, maybe we shouldn't be doing it after all. Like it's one of the riskiest surgeries to have, and then it makes, I don't know, just makes your body look really fucking weird, like really not normal. In pictures, it might look sexy, hot, or whatever, but if you guys ever seen like a person with a BBL in real life, it looks really weird. I don't know, it looks weird.
The extractions once we go to open them?
Well, how is the information
Because I feel like a lot of the, sorry, I was going back to what Mav was saying. Like a lot of like, there's like new procedures that come out and people are like, oh, you know, like this seems like be a good idea. Celebrities are doing it. And then when they realize they're like, oh, you know, 5-10 years later down the road, it's like, oh shit, like, you know, maybe you really shouldn't be doing this. I don't know. Like Botox, like, I don't know. I just don't like needles to the face. That's just how I feel about it.
First of all, and then what, if anything, do you do with that?
So
No, if the eggs lady was on the jury, the eggs would have hatched by now. What? How is there Botox migration? Which Botox can what? Botox can more from where you move from where you originally put it, making you look even older. I know fillers can move. I don't know Botox can. I've never heard of Botox moving. I think so. Fillers are like, have you guys seen or remember like back in the 80s or 90s, women would put silicone in their lips, and today that's like a huge no-no because silicone, it just fucking stays there. Like you guys ever seen like the Real Housewives with Lisa Rinna? It just stays there. It doesn't dissolve. And it makes it look so, I don't know, it just looks really weird. I don't know. I always say just be careful when there's like the new stuff that comes out in like the plastic surgery realm. Like just because a lot of people are doing it and celebrities are doing it, I don't know, you might want to wait a little bit. Because 5-10 years later down the road, it might be like, ooh, that was a bad idea after all. Same thing with, you guys ever notice, like a lot of like old Asian women who have green eyebrows or red eyebrows? Because back then they would tattoo their eyebrows and it would probably look good. I don't know if it looked good, actually. It probably looked like shit. But to them, it looked good. But when you age and get older, your tattoo starts fading and it starts looking green or like reddish. And I don't know, it looks so bad. Oh, like anything permanent like that? Ooh. I don't know. Scary.
Gray Key will pull the
Yeah, the sausage lids. Yup. Mm-hmm.
extraction, but it just, once the code's received, it again uses its software.
I guess like the BBLs that I have seen, the transformation are always massive because it's not like, oh, I want a slight BBL. It's like I want that major Kim Kardashian transformation. I don't know. When I see like the BBLs like that, like, oh, I don't know, it just looks so natural. Especially if you don't work out and your thighs are not big and you just have skinny thighs and then your ass is like huge, right? I feel like the proportion just looks really weird to me.
Pulls the data out. puts it into an encrypted, it's MD5 or SHA. It's an encryption key that has, it's a unique key that, so if you change anything inside that zip file, it would change the encryption.
Oh yeah, because you can't sit on your butt. I don't know. I my algorithm, I'll randomly get like BBL transformation and like horror stories and stuff like that. I don't know. I like it's like randomly in my YouTube algorithm. Like once a month, I'm like, oh okay, let's watch this video.
Number to show that something was tampered with. We take that encrypted zip file and we open it up in the software, and that's able to say, you know, the call logs, the chats, the photos, the whole timeline of the phone.
Now, in addition to yourself, is there anyone else that works in this sort of capacity within your unit at the district attorney's office?
Yes, 2 other people.
And who are those 2 others?
The director of our lab, Samantha Vogt, and Trooper Connor Keefe.
Now, beyond yourself, Trooper Keefe, and Ms. Vogt, anybody else from the detective unit, as far as troopers, would they have access to these devices, being defendants, Mr. O'Keefe's, Ms. McCabe's?
Yeah, BBL is Brazilian butt lift. It's like the Kim Kardashian transformation. It's where they suck like the fat out of like other areas of your body, and then they like put it in your like booty area. And if you don't have enough fat, then they have to get like foreign stuff to, you know, put in your butt. But it's a crazy procedure. I've seen people on YouTube document it, and oh my god, the recovery is fucking, it's insane. It's fucking insane. I don't know. It looks so fucking painful and like, oh god. Oh.
Ms. Roberts?
If they're in the digital evidence lab, no. Once the data is extracted from them.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I need to pay attention to. I'm sorry. I need to pay attention to this guy's testimony. But this is the last thing I would say. Have you guys seen? There's a doctor in China who's been taking people who are like in their 60s, 70s, and making them look really young, but they look so unnatural. They look like aliens. Oh my god, it looks so bad. Oh god, it pops up on my feed all the time, and dude, it's so scary. Botch? Yes! Botch! Yeah, one of the guys on... Actually, Botch is one of the husbands of the housewife, right? Terry? And the other one's Paul, right? They're both husbands. Yeah. Yeah, okay, so they're both, like, yeah, Real Housewives' husbands. Huh? Yeah, you can say hi if you want to. My brother's here. We're in Vegas right now. He wants to say hi.
Oh, this is so cool.
Yeah, we're watching this case right now.
Why is this so small?
Oh, well, this is what they see, and then this is what I see. So that's the chat right there. So, like, when you're watching the live stream, or when you're watching the video, you can see who I'm talking to. So it doesn't look like I'm talking about myself. Right. Yeah, no, I think, like, although, I think people are starting to come down from this, like, the whole plastic surgery hype. You know, because I think for a while people were taking their Snapchat filters. Like I was watching YouTube videos that like these plastic surgeons would make, and people would take what they look like on their Snapchat filter, bring it to the plastic surgeon, and be like, I want my nose to look like this. And I think as we're starting to simmer down from all the fucking scary filters and the face tunes and all that stuff, I don't know. I think people are starting to have an appreciation for just like maybe like some fine tuning and then just like natural beauty or just like aging. I don't know. It depends. Because I always thought that, okay, like if I were in my 50s, maybe I would have a facelift. Because I have seen people do facelifts and they can look really fucking incredible. But at the same time, some of them can look really fucking scary. And then the procedure itself looks really fucking scary. Like you're literally taking your face and you're lifting it up and stapling it up here. And then you're, like, I don't know. And now that I'm like in my mid-30s, I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that actually. That sounds a little too crazy. That sounds a little too scary. I don't know. But, ugh. Hi, Corky brother! He disappeared. I don't know where he went off to. But yeah, Botch has some really crazy people on there. Like, I don't know how they had surgeons work with them and let them do as many procedures that made them look like, I don't know, it just was so fucking scary. I think it was China. I remember hearing about people doing the leg extension surgery in China, and that is just a scary one. Like, oh my fucking god. That's a scary one.
Trooper Connor Keefe.
Now, beyond yourself, Trooper Keefe, and Ms. Vogt, anybody else from the detective unit, as far as troopers, would they have access to these devices, being defendants, Mr. O'Keefe's, Ms. McCabe's, or Ms. Roberts?
If they're in the digital evidence lab, no. Once the data is extracted from them, normally we give them back to the investigator or return to family. So that would be the only time that they would have access to the devices, or unless we kept them in the lab for, just for, I don't want to say safekeeping, but just for storage reasons.
Now, with reference to your review of any of the extractions related to any of those 4 devices, at any point in time, did you observe anything in reference to any information being taken off or deleted from any of those devices at any point in time?
No, sir.
Now, with respect to Ms. Reed's device, the defendant's device, it was sometime in August of 2022 that the breakee was able to break into passcode and get into the device, correct?
That's correct.
And so then once an extraction is done, that's then subsequently reviewed by someone within your unit, is that correct?
Yes. So again, normally the investigators for the homicides know far more information.
Remember, Proctor, I mean, I don't even know this. Is this normal? So, say you have someone get a hold of your phone. So, in this case, it was Trooper Proctor who got Karen Reed's phone. They were able to get in months later, and he was just going through the phone. Is that normal to just go through someone's phone like that? Or is it more normal to bring it to a lab of some sort where they extract all the data and then you go through the phone? I don't know. I always thought that was kind of weird, but I was like, do detectives do that? Like, oh, okay, I have the passcode. I'm just going to go through the phone really quick and go through the pictures and go through the messages. I thought there was a more formalized way to go through someone's phone, not just having one detective sitting at his desk late at night scrolling through. I don't know. That to me, I was always like really weird.
Information about the crime and what occurred. So if need be, I'll load the phone up for them. They can go through it because they know what they're looking for. If they ask me, I'm happy to go through. If they can say, I'm looking for calls between this time period or, GPS locations, things like that.
Now, with reference to the defendant's phone, at some point were you made aware that there was some privileged information contained within her phone?
Yes, I was.
So as a result of that, what, if anything, happened with the phone?
I notified our supervisors, and we did not look at her extraction until the privileged communications could be removed, and then we could, again, go back and re-inspect the data.
Now, as far as that whole process that was undertaken in regard to that, how long a time period, or when was it that you were able to have the privileged information extracted and then actually get a look at the defense phone?
It took months. I don't think we got it back from the AG's office until later, I don't know, springtime of 2023-ish.
Now, with respect to the extraction from each of these four respective devices, that being the defendants, Mr. O'Keefe, Mr. Caves, and Ms. Roberts, what kind of tools were used to conduct those extractions?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, because here's the thing. That's how gravity works, right? So when you do the facelift, I mean, at some point, you're still going to fucking age. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I've seen so many celebrity, face makeovers where, oh, it looks good. And then, they do some more shit. I'm like, no. Like, yeah, Madonna just looks scared to me. I don't know. She just looks so scared to me. I mean, I think at the end of the day, do whatever makes you happy. If you want to do it, fucking do it. My issue is that when you have people who are so young and so impressionable, like people who are in their late teens, early 20s, who are seeing all these people on social media that are doing the surgeries and stuff like that, or they're looking up to I don't know, the Kardashians or something, and they do all these crazy surgeries, and they get into their mid 20s, late 30s, and they're like, fuck, I don't like how this looks. This looks so unnatural. And reversing some of the surgeries could be really hard, right? That's where it's man. That's what I think about.
Gray Key, Windows 10, and then Cellbrite Physical Analyzer and Axiom, their program.
Yeah, and then the crazy thing is, some of the people that are doing the surgeries at in their 50s and 60s, they all start looking very similar. They all start looking the same.
Magnets program.
So as far as, I guess my question is, as far as the...
Oh my God, we are loving Pam. We are loving, I mean, Pam was always gorgeous to begin with, honestly, but I love what Pam is doing right now. She's doing the whole no makeup look, and she's just fucking thriving. Yeah, that's fucking awesome. But she's also a fucking beauty, though. She's fucking gorgeous.
Devices that are used, why are there different devices, and what is it that one does versus the other?
But I really do love how she's doing the whole no makeup thing. Oh, red carpet, no makeup, I don't give a fuck.
So they both do great work with, decoding the data. I've noticed that Axiom does a better job at pulling GPS spots because it gives a speed and a estimated range of how strong the GPS signals are, as opposed to Cellbrite. They give native locations, but they don't have that extra data with it. So I like to look at both tools to make sure that I'm seeing everything that I need to.
Now, with respect to the defendant's phone, you at some points reviewed the extraction from the defendant's phone, correct?
Yes, I did.
And with respect to that phone, what, if anything, did you observe with regard to GPS locations associated with that device?
I didn't see that many, maybe a handful, showing different spots in Canton, but nothing that stood out to me.
Now, with respect to your review of the phone, what, if anything, were you able to ascertain as to whether or not those GPS locations were allowed or permitted or turned off or on by you?
I can't say. I didn't see anything, like I said, that stuck out to me. Normally, if the GPS points aren't there, then location services are probably turned off.
But what I'm asking, though, is the device itself was capable of retaining that data as far as GPS locations, correct?
Yes, if it's turned on.
And there were no real GPS locations to speak of that you observed in your review of the extraction of the defendant, right?
That's correct.
Now, with regard to Mr. O'Keefe's phone, what, if anything, were you able to ascertain from that as far as GPS locations were concerned?
There was quite a bit, especially on January 29th.
Now, sir, before we get into that, if I could ask you some questions in regards to Ms. McCabe's phone extraction. You had occasion to review that, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And so, in regard to that, also, you had mentioned that you had reviewed an affidavit from a defense expert or defense witness named Mr. Richard Green, correct?
That's correct.
And based on your review of that, what, if anything, based on your review of what Mr. Green said or did?
Okay, so I guess not really much from Karen Reed's phone that really stands out to them, aside from, you know, where Karen Reed was that night.
What, if anything, did you then do with regard to Mr. McCabe's phone?
So I basically went point by point through his report to confirm or deny if what he was placing in there was true.
I'm gonna
And what,
speed
if
up
anything,
super fast, okay?
What, if anything, were you able to ascertain or learn from going through Mr. McCabe's phone with reference to what Mr. Green said? Objection.
I'll allow that.
It was mostly incorrect.
And when you say mostly incorrect, what was mostly incorrect?
So he states that there's a Google search that's done at 2:27 in the morning. That immediately stuck out to me because when I went back and looked, that file that was parsed was not from the database that should have showed searches. This came from the Session State tabs for Safari.
Okay, so another witness to talk about the Jen McCabe search. I do see text messages on the screen. Can we just go to it?
Which is a big red flag. Also came from a wall file. Be from Ms. Reed, and the green bubbles are from Officer O'Keefe.
If you could please
Oh, are we gonna go through Karen's messages? Oh, okay.
scroll down. Now, with respect to what's contained on this page one at the bottom, if you could read the date and the time and indicate who is speaking and what is said there.
Yeah, so the blue bubble is Karen Reed, and 1/28/2022 at 3:30 p.m. Hello. John says hi at 3:35 p.m.
This is on January 28th, so the day before.
Mr. The chat book contained with course.
Ooh, you know I love seeing text messages. We're so nosy.
Ms. Gilman, I'm sorry. You could scroll level is from Ms. Reed, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And from Mr. O'Keefe, is that correct?
Yes.
And if you could again.
So Karen at January 28 at 9:49 a.m. Oh, maybe this is the fight they were talking about in the morning over breakfast? I thought that happened on the 29th though. So Karen writes, "You have really hurt me this time." John writes, "I'm sorry. This has been an issue with me for..." Fuck, I can't see it. That white on green is so bad. John writes, "I'm sorry. This has been an issue with me for 8 years. It physically hurts me to see everyone else in their life doing things for them, and I'm forced to always be the bad guy."
Issue with me for 8 years. It physically hurts me the same as everybody else.
Karen writes back, "I am not the same as everyone else. Most of the time, I try to do what is healthy/smart for them." Oh, this must be over the kids, maybe. "More importantly, I try to support you and what you need. You just lashed out on me and said terrible things. I don't know how you've gotten to this point with me when I'm just trying my hardest. You make your point and continue to beat me down. I have a lot going on too. Physically, I am falling apart and trying to get answers and help." I'm just going to read it myself.
Okay.
Fuck, I can't read that. There's a logo there. Something... "I am your girlfriend. I'm not a perfect parent. I'm trying very hard and sometimes treat them something like I used to." Shit. I'll just have to read that part.
I can stop you there, sir.
Oh. "I'm just your girlfriend. I'm not a perfect parent. I'm trying very hard and sometimes treat them nothing like I used to." Okay.
All right.
And starting with the blue bubble on the bottom of page 4, Dan, if you could indicate as to
Karen says maybe you can call someone. This is 128.
speaking what is said in the date.
Maybe you can go on says like who.
John says like who? What time are you coming here? Oh, wait, sorry. This is the day that they fought over the breakfast thing. Yeah. Sorry, 128. I'm sorry. I was so confused. 128. Yeah. This is the night where they went to the bars and stuff.
1:47 p.m.
I'm sorry, y'all. I got confused for a second there.
What time are you coming here? And then There is at 12:05. There's a message but no content.
Okay. Karen says, I don't know what time. Feel kind of out of it. Just trying to clear my head. John says, okay. This is 2 p.m., by the way. Karen says, text me when you guys settle in later. Oh, but this is UTC time, though. Oh, my God. We're in UTC time. They didn't do the time conversion.
Text me when you guys settle.
John says, sure. Karen writes back, I feel pretty shitty about how this morning went down. I know you said sorry, but it really stung, especially when I'm trying pretty hard lately. I feel like a loser turning around, just coming back over after everything you said. John writes, not sure what else you want me to do. I said I'm sorry and I was out of line. If you prefer to stay home, I totally get it. Karen says, things in my own life has been difficult too, you know. John says, I know. Karen writes, tell me if you are interested in someone else. Can't think of any other reason you've been like this. John writes, nope. John also writes, things haven't been great between us for a while. Ever consider that? Question mark. John writes, kids are here, not in the mood to talk.
Was it 2:27?
That at the bottom of the page.
Karen writes back, so you're not into it anymore. That's fine. But I don't want to keep trying and you keep treating me like this.
So you're not into it anymore. Morning, and you whack me in the face with the.
Karen says, I'm trying to hug you and kiss you this morning and you whack me in the face with a pillow. She also writes, last night you're basically like, yeah, what about? When we talk about the future. So why don't you just admit you're not into so much anymore? I don't know. This might get more sympathy for Karen.
About the future.
John writes back, not how it went down, but okay. Karen says, can you please admit your head is out of the game with us? Question mark. John says, sick of always fighting and arguing and fighting. It's been weekly for several months now, so yeah, I'm not as quick to jump back into being lovey-dovey as you apparently. John says, oh my God, stop calling. Oh, I guess she keeps calling him.
For several months.
I think she keeps calling and he doesn't want to talk because the kids are there. Karen says...
You're also able to extract a report.
Karen says... The fuck does that say? Something, would you start with me this morning? Why would you start... Something, why would you start with me this morning?
Stop you there for just a moment.
Then why would you start with me this morning? Question mark, question mark. Okay.
With regard on that day,
Yes, I will.
I just want to read the text messages.
you record 28.
If they're not-
Oh, are we going to hear the voice messages with this guy?
Do you recognize that, sir?
Yeah. January 29th at 6:03 a.m.
Sorry, this caption thing won't... Can you go away? Go away.
From 9:19 to about 2:59 p.m. That is correct.
That's your small misread.
All right, so this is Karen
Yes.
calling John.
And so your voice went down. So
Yes, so 2:32 p.m. She says, "Why would you start with me this morning?" And then followed up by 2:33, "You're setting me up to fail."
If I could turn your attention to page
John, and that's it.
from there.
Karen also writes, you start a member of fights from your end. John says, I've explained it a few times already, not doing it again.
2:33, John writes back, "I've explained it a few times already, not doing it again."
Karen says, so you're not into this anymore? John says, not into fighting all the time, correct. Karen says, if you tell me you're interested in someone else, you will never hear from me again. You can have all the space in the world.
2:34, John writes back that there's
John,
no content at
there's nothing here. I don't know. It's just empty.
2:34, and then
Karen says, then stop starting with me, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. John says, I'm not answering. Stop calling. Karen says, can you please answer after how you treated me earlier? John says, Kaylee is right here. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, he doesn't want to argue with... I mean, it's probably like he found out Kaylee has some really good news, that she got into the school. They want to celebrate, and he doesn't want to deal with, having to argue with Karen, I guess. Karen says, you start a rager with me out of nowhere and then tell me you're sick of fighting with me.
sick of fighting with me at 2:35.
Karen also says, I'm going to grab a drink in a bit. John says, no, Karen, not sure why you need to announce that you're going to grab a drink, but have fun. Karen says, seeing if you want to meet me later. John says, have to take them to the doctor. He has practice. Aaron says, yeah, 5 minutes. John says, my father just walked in. Karen says, okay, can you please call me for 2 minutes? It's never going to be a 2-minute call.
The top of page 16, sir.
John says, not right now.
244, 46. Yes, John, you gave me. Karen writes back, I'm
Karen says, I'm there when anyone else needs me.
there when anyone else needs me at 244.
Karen says, yes, John, you gave me utter grief this morning. I'd like to call you for a minute.
246. Yeah, 240.
I've been trying to get over the hump with is arguing, and now you're telling me you're not into things and you don't want to fight weekly, but fly off the handle at 8 a.m. with me. Like, you're setting me up to fail.
7. I've been trying to get a fight weekly, but fight.
Sir, if I could draw page 42.
Oh, we're jumping a little bit. Okay. Karen says, okay, let me know if you end up leaving. John says,
1
why?
p.m. Karen writes, okay, let me know if you end up leaving.
John says, why now you're not coming? Karen says, I'm waiting for the plumber. I actually think he's in the driveway. John says, we're taking Mike's car, so I'm relying on you for a ride home if he leaves.
For a ride home back at 7:40. Karen writes back at 7:43. He's not.
Karen says he's not going home afterwards. John says 8 a.m. on a Friday. He might have to go get Michael.
7:44.
John says, you have a plumber coming at 8. Knowing me and Papa could have handled it. Good luck.
Thank you, sir.
Karen says, yeah, but he lives right down the road. John says, Karen, the storm is going to be intense. Can't drive.
Start from page 49.
Karen says, okay, well, if he can't, he can't. John says, I'll do it Monday.
John writes back. Hey.
Fuck.
Karen responds at 8:31. Ha.
Karen says, I better not still have this problem on Monday.
Better not still have this problem on Monday.
John says, you plan on being there? Question mark.
Writes back. Plan on being there. Karen writes back at 8:32.
Karen says, I'd like to know I can take a hot shower here if I need to. John says, I'm getting off my phone. Let me know what you're doing. Karen says, I think the 4 of us together is toxic to this relationship. Would like to limit it. Oh, including the kids? Karen says, you said it yourself for probably a year now.
Said so yourself for probably a year now. And John writes back.
John says, blizzard tomorrow. Nobody's going anywhere. Karen says, maybe I'll come back late tonight. Bad snow is in the early a.m.
That's it.
Karen says, I'll head up there in a few minutes. Let me know if you leave. John says, sure. Karen says, I'm going home.
The next one's not until 12:55 a.m. on the 29th. I'm going home.
And the I'm going home is from the defendant, 12:55 a.m., is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And if I could direct your attention to the top of page 53.
Yes, 12:55
Karen says, see you later.
again. See you later. At 1:02, your kids are cucking alone. 1:29, 1:04 a.m. I'm back in Mansfield. The kids are home alone.
Thanks. May I approach the retrieve?
Yes.
Wait, so she must have texted that after he was dropped off at 34 Fairview. Did it ever show that she went back to... Oh, what if the reason why there's no ring footage of her arriving at John O'Keefe's house was because she didn't go to John O'Keefe's house? That she was at... She went back home in Mansfield. No, but that would make sense because she was with her niece when she called Jen McCabe, right? It must have showed when she arrived home at some point. I'm confused. What? I'm so confused.
Unmuted.
Also able to get some.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Some Laura Sullivan to Karen Reed, and the other one is Karen Reed and Laura Sullivan's chat messages.
What's contained?
My comments? Sorry, I've been reading the text messages. What's going on in the comments? Is something happening in the comment section?
In those documents, is that a fair and accurate portrayal of what you were able to extract from the defense file?
Yes, sir.
It's fine with me.
Yes.
Let's see to introduce the minutes and explanations. Go get it.
Are comments getting deleted? Not on my end. I don't see any.
No.
It keeps deleting comments randomly. I don't see any admin activity on my end. Usually, it'll tell me. They're like, "Oh, this message was held back," or "This was deleted." Like if YouTube.
Thank you.
If YouTube does it, it would usually tell me. It keeps saying mistake sending message. Oh, that's not on my end. I don't know what that is. Sorry, is it deleting or you can't send messages?
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Karen Reed and Aaron O'Keefe.
It might be a YouTube thing. Error, try again. Oh, I don't know. It might be a YouTube thing.
Phone call.
And what is contained in that is a fair and accurate portrayal of what you observed conducting the extraction of the defendant's phone with regard to the communications with Aaron O'Keefe.
Yes.
May I approach again, Your Honor?
Yes, Ms. Dinelli.
Karen, no.
Approaches.
And 52 is chats between Karen Reed and Katie Camerano.
Approaches retrieve what you observed during the extraction of the material from
Karen and Katie.
Chats between Karen Reed and Jen McCabe, text messages. And 95 is
the defendant's phone during the course of your extraction of materials from her phone.
yes.
Are we going to show the text messages?
Minute to figure out the next 2 days.
Okay, they're getting up.
Have you read anything about this case?
All right, court's over. Oh boy, what a fucking... Oh my god, I'm so confused. So is the state trying to say that Karen Reed went on the Ring and deleted footage or not? It seems like Ring wasn't accessed on the laptop, the family computer, only on John O'Keefe's phone. So are they trying to say that, oh, Karen took John's phone, got access to it, and deleted the Ring footage? It doesn't seem like it, because the previous witness, or the trooper that went, the crash reconstruction trooper guy, was trying to explain how possible the phone could have been found near John's body. I'm so confused. What is going on? YouTube is singing out the troublemakers. Maybe you guys are the troublemakers. I'm not doing anything on my end. I don't see anything on my end. I don't know.
All right, and Trooper, you can just follow up behind, okay?
And y'all are talking about politics-ish, but not really. Yeah, I don't know. Usually, if anything gets held back, YouTube will let me know, unless they're doing their own thing, or there's just like some weird tech stuff happening right now. Yeah, stop butt deleting your text messages.
Thank you.
Oh gosh. Okay. I'm gonna have to pop out after this. I'm sorry, guys. So we got more expert testimonies talking about Jen McCabe's search history, whether or not it was deleted. It seems like the three of them say that like it wasn't deleted. The search happened at the 6 o'clock or 6:30, whenever it was that whenever it was when John was being loaded into the ambulance, I think. But now we have more confusion about the Ring stuff. Ay ay ay. The crash reconstruction guy believes that John O'Keefe was hit by the taillight around his arm, such in a way where he rotated his body and then fell back, I guess, and hit his head. To me, it doesn't really explain the nose injury or the scratch. And then when the crash reconstruction guy was being cross-examined, I think he just didn't exude confidence to me. I think he kind of got destroyed by Mr. Jackson. Anyways, this trial is, I don't know, what a weird trial. Ay, ay, ay. The stream is frozen? Oh no! I don't know. I don't know. It's working on my end. I don't know if it's YouTube or something. You guys are back? Okay, I'm sorry. But yeah, that's about it for today. What a crazy day. So, I think tomorrow is going to be all voir dire. I think that's what the court said, right? With the witnesses. There are some defense witnesses that... Actually, are they doing voir dire for the defense witnesses this week? I guess so. Some sort of scheduling stuff. So we're going to have some voir dire. Jury's going to be out of the courtroom. They're going to have defense witnesses go up there, and they're going to figure out what they're going to allow in, out, who's going to testify, and all that stuff, I guess, right? Oh boy. All right. So I will see you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out today for this short, random, janky stream. And I know I did miss a couple streams, but I am pretty much caught up with the case. There are some there's like 2 testimonies I have to go back and listen to the tail end of it, but I'm pretty much caught up with the case. I don't know. Oh boy, what a messy case. But guys, oh, you thought it was Wednesday? No, you might be right. It might be Wednesday. I have to go back and listen to what Judge Beverly said last Friday about this week's scheduling. Yeah, so it seems like some of the, not all of them, but some of the witnesses were the ones that were from the federal investigation, and the defense is using it as their own. So that sounds, how does that sound to you guys? Doesn't sound good for the state. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope you guys have a good one. I hope you guys take care. I will see you guys later. And yeah, if you haven't already, feel free to join the Discord. And I appreciate all the chats and the talks. And I know today we're kind of all over the place. I'm sorry. It happens. But I don't know. This case is just eye roll. All right.